multicam. Oh,
Alright.
that'll do.
Yeah, that's good enough. Sweet. Do we have a double up there? That's just the chat cam on that side, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that's on what's it called? On Kick. Kick's
Oh,
been doing
nice.
all right actually recently.
Yeah, I have kicked myself. What's the sort of vibe? Is it
It's
kind of
like-
like a
it's
Rumble type thing?
Kind of. It's like the counter to Twitch because Twitch has been hell fucking. It's
Dodgy
been,
as
it's-
fuck. It's just softcore porn for like 14-year-olds now, isn't it?
Oh yeah, kind of. And like, do you see the whole thing with like Hassan Piker and that other like Frogan streamer? And they were like full. They were saying that they were like happy about fucking 9/11 and
Yeah, bro, fucking
and then like
wild,
Hassan is like going after the Israelis and stuff and saying
Didn't he cry about his viewership dropping?
something like
that
that.
clip?
He got banned the other day, and so did that Frogan lady as well.
Bro, I cannot believe I used to listen to Hassan a lot as well, man, back when I was fucking soy boy.
Literally,
I was on the soy.
I don't know how I never enjoyed that guy. He's so weird and just like, I don't know, cringe in my
Yeah.
opinion. And he talks about like taking money from like the rich people and stuff, but then he's like got these $1 million houses. It's like,
Mansions
what?
everywhere as well. I hate that whole fuck. I think it's a grift. There's that,
It is a grift for sure.
the virtue signaling grift of all of that. I can't stand that about the left these days, man. I don't know if there's any like leftist I've seen who can like give me a good argument for leftism or progressivism that doesn't just have this, white knight, white savior complex thing like, oh, we need to help the downtrodden. Oh, how do we do that? We give you power? Is that that's how we help them? Why is it always that's the way we help them? You need to get power and then we'll help them.
Yeah.
Right, why don't you just go help them now instead of making like fucking millions off like, selling solutions to impressionable teenagers? Hassan, piece of shit.
Dude, did you watch that video I sent you about Rhodesia and what happened in Rhodesia with that quote that I sent you?
I think I saw the quote, but maybe
Oh,
explain
man.
it.
Rhodesia was, I don't know the full extent. I kind of listened to it. It's a bit scuffed actually to talk about because it's like when the British went to, I think it's now Zimbabwe, but it used to be Rhodesia. And essentially the Rhodesians, which were the English, essentially were saying that Rhodesia is more British than Britain and all this sort of stuff. And anyways, it was actually their system over there was working quite well, but you had to get through a certain class or you had to provide or have a certain status to be able to vote. So it was this weird dynamic where you had to be of a certain standard to be able to participate in the politics and actually be involved in developing the infrastructure and stuff. So,
But I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I think there should be a few more freaking hoops to go through before like you get to shape the society for everyone else around you.
yeah,
There's gonna be some disqualifying features. For God's sakes, like I've seen people on the left say that if you come here as a freaking like literal illegal immigrant, if you come here without any approval, you should still be allowed to vote in elections. What the hell is the point of citizenship then? What is the point in paying taxes if, like, you can pay taxes, yet your say on how the taxes are spent is as valid as someone who's never paid any taxes? Why do they do everything they can just to, like, shit on the people who actually make money and pay taxes? That's what I feel is wrong with our society in a lot of ways, right? Let's say you get quite successful. You pay about, I don't know what the brackets how that work, but I'd assume that the top 10% of earners pay most of the tax because it's the proportionate tax system that we have. Yet you pay 100 grand a year in tax, someone pays zero. Both your votes mean the same thing. Both you get an equal say on how the 100 grand is spent. Does that seem right? Does that seem right? Just sort of pure fairness type thing? You've been here for 40 years. You've paid taxes every single one of those years. Someone's come here, they've been in here for 6 months. That you both get the equal say on how the country's governed? I don't know. I don't know if that's the best way to do it. That seems incredibly like unfair to the person who contributes.
Yeah, I don't know like the whole like archetype of where that leads you down if that's what you want, but essentially Rhodesia.
It might go down a bad way. I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm here asking questions.
Just
right?
saying shit.
I'm just here.
Just giving ideas out. Yeah, I mean, someone's probably already thought about this, but essentially Rhodesia, there was the Brits started to claim that there was like is it classism? Is that what it's called? So essentially,
India has a lot of that. In India, you could be untouchables as part of the class. Have you heard much about India's?
No.
Oh, mate,
But let me finish that.
We'll do a full aside, we'll do a separate full episode, and I'll research into that. It was really fascinating. But carry on.
So essentially, the Rhodesians, because it was a lot of white European influence on it, Rhodesia was like really advanced as opposed to the rest of the surrounding countries in Africa. And anyways, a lot of the like I don't know, the Africans that existed there prior to the British, a lot of them were actually getting really good educations, and um, living in Rhodesia was like bringing up that area. The quality of life was really good. So essentially, what happened is that the British were saying that it was like a racist country because the white people, it wasn't just white people, there was black people there as well that could vote, but you had to be of a certain status to be able to vote.
And what influenced the status? It wasn't like what family you were born into or anything
no,
like that?
no, it was nothing to do with like the color of your skin or anything like that, and it wasn't anything
Level
about
of
the
income,
Yeah, it was like
ownership?
income or like land
Yeah.
ownership, stuff like that. So that
Yeah.
was what influenced you being able to make decisions and vote. So, anyways, I probably shouldn't even talk about this topic because I'm not very good at explaining the whole thing. You'd have to watch the video because I'd only learned about it the other day.
Yeah. Well,
but essentially,
just people have had those sort of ideas. I mean, that's not.
No,
it's not new.
It's not new, but essentially, Rhodesia was functioning well, and Britain was saying that it was a racist country. I shouldn't even say that word because we'll fucking get flagged. It's crazy
As
that
soon
I
as you
can't
say the word Britain.
no, not Britain or white.
How dare you?
Melanin
disabled.
Yeah, pick me up on swearing and saying like if you can, because I'm trying to stamp that out of my vocabulary. I want this conversation to be more, like how Chris Williamson talks, and there's
He's very gifted though.
Yeah,
your like EQ needs to be through the roof to be able to have a whole conversation like that. Because one thing you're trying to like have the good conversation with someone, so you're trying to engage, and the second you're trying to like use good words and not belittle the other. It's impossible to navigate. Really difficult,
but if we work on it, we'll get better at it. So essentially, the Rhodesians were saying that if you give everyone the same power to vote on where things are going, it's going to destroy this country because it's too early. And that's where it came from. That quote was like, they are trying to say that at a certain point, once you get to a certain status, it's better for you to vote because you have a difference in opinion that can help the country move forward.
Also, you've established that you have your own house in order to some extent before you can shape the nation. If you can't shape your own life to a good degree, what place do you have shaping the nation?
That's right.
And I will say that like Socrates, and this is not, when I say this isn't a new concept about like, does everyone get the same vote? Can democracy function that way? Or is there some like, hoops you need to get through or some sort of markers you need to reach before you're allowed to vote? That used to be like the norm of what democracy was. It wasn't like everyone votes and everyone contributes the same to like the way the country's governed. I think it used to be landowners. I think in America, if I'm not mistaken, you have to own land to have the right to vote. Australia had a similar thing as well at the time. I don't know if that's the worst thing possible. I think having some prerequisite where you have to demonstrate that you at least have your own life in order, that you're at least successful to some degree before you literally get to pick who governs us. I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
Yeah.
I don't know how it'll work.
So essentially what happened there is that they were saying that because of that classism, that it was a R-word country. So then what they were saying is that if they didn't allow everyone to be able to vote like a liberal sort of voting system, that they would cut off supplies to Rhodesia, which they said, look, we are going to break away from Britain because we don't want to be involved with you guys telling us how to vote. So then Britain decided to stop sending supplies to them and almost like putting sanctions on them, right? So anyways, they eventually capitulated and caved to what they wanted. And then after they did that, do you know, it's like Mugabe?
Yeah, Mugabe. Yeah, he was the dictator.
That's right. So from that, Rhodesia completely collapsed and Mugabe took over, and now it's just a complete disaster.
Yeah. And it will be for like generations to come as well. That's the thing. Like,
and there's this like, from reading in the comments and stuff, people that lived or were Rhodesian, there's these quotes that Smith was the guy that was pushing to have that sort of status of being able to vote and be involved and influence the country. They say Smith was better, or because they now, after seeing what Mugabe did to everything, they realized that the European influence was way
Yeah.
better than what ended up.
Yeah, well, collectivism and socialism and those sort of concepts like just haven't worked. They haven't worked anywhere they've been tried. Like,
Yeah.
you got Russia, you got Argentina, you got Cuba, you got so many places where it doesn't work. And I think you know that. I think everyone deep down their guts, it's a weird thing to try and square up, right? You got this one ideal that I know I was raised with, and you probably were as well. Anyone who's a Western country type of kid has been raised with, which is we're all equal, we all have the same vote. That's one of the, you know, in the most naive way possible, the beauty about what was this?
I was looking there because your tree is not straight, and it was really annoying me. I was like, "Why is your tree rolled?" Now it looks better. I was like, it was annoying me that it was not straight.
No, if you annoyed you, were annoyed just about anyone, so that's good.
I was literally looking
Yeah.
at it. I was like, his tree isn't straight. It's still not straight, actually.
Yeah.
Can you straighten that right up?
That is,
Yeah, that's better.
yeah, because the angle of the camera, so
Is
that
it-
should
is
be
it right?
fine.
Yeah. Go. Carry on.
What I
carry
was
on.
say is like the in the most naive way possible, like you can see that it's a beautiful ideal. The ideal is that everyone's equal, everyone's vote should count the same way. It's that it just seems it has such a nice feel to it. Like you're like, oh yeah, that's the moral and virtuous way to run a nation.
Yeah.
But the older you get and the more you experience this world, the more you know that that's not true in a lot of ways. You know it's not true. You know it's not true that everyone's equal, that everyone has the best, same quality of ideas. You know that not everyone is the same best place to decide how it should be governed. We just know that. We know some people are really informed. Some people are critical thinkers. Some people don't want to think at all. Like, you know that that's true. Everyone knows. You put any group of people together, you just have differences in people. And that's something you observe the older you get and the more you live on this planet. You know there's differences in people. And my brother was like, for as many genius, independent thinkers that we have, there's just as many idiots. Just as many, man. So if you're telling me that every Einstein is washed out by every hillbilly, like, what the hell then? Is this the best way for us to govern? That Einstein's vote means the same as mine or yours? Do you know what I mean? That there's this idea that it doesn't matter how well you can establish that you research, that you're independent, that you're disciplined, all these virtues that we agree are important. It doesn't matter how much of that you have when your vote is completely squared, washed even by anyone. Someone who's just turned 18, never picked up a book in their goddamn life, their vote means the same as yours. Is that the best way? There's so many scholars will say it's not the best way to govern a nation, and we just do it. Is it working? Some people say we're on like the freaking death throes of Western democracy. So I don't know. We've got elections, a big election coming up now, you know, in the States, in America. I don't know if there's enough informed, intelligent people to outweigh those who just believe what the media says.
That's interesting as well, actually, because it's almost like if there was a way to add a value to a person's vote. So everyone's allowed to vote, but the percentage of weight that it bears would play an influence or something.
Solid idea. I think that's a great idea. And I think the best way to do that would be, and here's a very interesting one, because this would also then reward people and make taxation not look like a punishment anymore. The strength of your vote, how much it means proportionally to other people's, is dependent on how many taxes you pay, how much taxes. The more taxes you paid that year, the stronger your vote is for next. That's just the way it should work. So we got 26 million Australians, right? If you make it, there's 260 million votes to be cast. If you contribute no taxes, your vote counts for one. And then scale it, mathematically scale it through that way. Whoever's lived here the longest, contributed the most financially to the running of the goddamn country, should have the biggest say on what happens. Not the sole supreme say. So we're not saying dictatorship or autocracy. We're just saying a slightly bigger proportion of the vote. And then you won't be so pissed when you pay, 40, 50% of your money in taxes, because at least you go, okay, well, at least I get to choose where these are spent a bit more than someone who didn't pay.
That's actually not a bad
solution.
idea, right? That's actually not too bad of an idea of giving a weighted value to. I guess it's interesting to tie it to tax, because just because you pay more tax than someone doesn't necessarily mean that you have a better insight or view or knowledge base on where the country's going.
But you are funding how the country's governed, so it's your money. More of the money being spent by the government is yours, so you should have more of the say. And
Sure. You're spending more money into paying tax, but
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily mean you have the right ideas on where
Yeah,
you should
but
influence.
it's more fair that you get to have a stronger say on where it goes. That's all I mean. It would be more fair that you have a stronger say on where it's spent than someone who's contributed nothing.
So, what do you think about these large companies then that don't pay tax? Because then they would have
Yeah.
no say, right?
Brilliant. And that's what's fantastic.
That
Then
is
they would have no
interesting.
say. And then they would actually, not benefit from decisions that are made by the government. And that's how it should be. If you are a company, Australian-owned company that does pay its corporate taxes properly, that does put the money back into the system, then you do get to say a bigger say on how the country's governed. And then there's an incentive in there for them to actually pay their taxes.
That is
So
actually
you've added an
interesting.
incentive. Right now, there's no incentive. Tax just feels punitive, like they're just stealing from you. It's theft, man. I paid a fuck ton of taxes. I still almost got thrown out of my state for not taking the third jab. Do you know how unfair that felt? It was incredibly unfair. Now, I have people who depend on things like pension or depend on sort of payments, and they get their benefits slashed whilst I'm paying more and more than I've ever paid before of taxes. My family members who depend on these benefits get less and less. That doesn't feel fair. Let me keep that money. Let me give it to them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm putting more into the system, and I have less and less say than I've ever had before of how it gets spent. That's not good. That breeds resentment. So we need to fix that. And that's a great solution, what we just came up with there. I think that could work.
I mean, it could probably work on our small podcast
Yeah,
discussion,
yeah.
but I'm sure that there's probably someone that'd be very opposed to that opinion. Although I like it on base premise. Base premise, it actually makes sense.
Yeah.
It's interesting as well because I guess the more money you earn, the greater influence you have on the country. But then could that not also create some sort of divide from between middle class, lower class, and upper class?
It could, but I'll say right now we already have that divide. Because right now the way it works is everyone vote technically counts the same. But if you have a lot of money, you buy media influences people who don't really pay attention. So you already have a higher voting system for the wealthy because they can buy out the politicians, which is the most direct form of them controlling what happens. I think the better way to do it would be just incentivize them just to pay the right amount of taxes that they're supposed to pay. Like, have that be the way that they can buy more favor. At least we get the money into the public coffers this way.
That's actually not
right
bad,
now,
yeah.
it's just a dodgy goddamn backroom deal with Rupert Murdoch and a bunch of politicians and media moguls. Do you know what I mean? That still happens, but we as the public, we get none of the money. We just get propagandized into voting the way they want us to.
Do you find that it's really, when you look at people and when they vote and what they hear through the media, how heavily it does influence their opinions on elections and who they vote in? Especially, I think Donald Trump is probably the best example of that, and how the media has completely spun him to be this villain.
Oh my, they just did a post saying like he's literally the next reincarnation of Hitler. The amount of times they've called him, I know that's probably got a shutter ban now as well. But Louis, we can't communicate by S words, H words, and R words. That's not the way. We have to use language where it's supposed to be used. Fuck these censors. I hate them. I hate them. I do not want to play by their rules whatsoever. I think they've butchered the English language and people's communication.
Fair
I hate
enough.
it. No, not for it, mate. I'll cop the views, I reckon. We
Go on,
can at least
then.
have a normal conversation.
fair.
You can beat me later. It's fine. But no, I think you're right. I think they've painted him as this villain. There's people who have probably nightmares about him winning. I think when he does win, if he does win, I think it's quite likely now, based on the betting markets at least. He's about 80%. He's just on Rogan as well. Like, everyone's predicting him to win. But there's genuinely 40% of America that probably has actual vivid nightmares about Trump bursting down their front door and attacking them. Like, that is how much they believe this. They thought he was a Manchurian candidate, that he was like a fucking a planted spy for Russia, that as soon as he won, he was going to open the door for Russian assets to come over and take away their freedoms. But the people in the media who fooled you into thinking that, if you're someone listening right now who does think Trump is this massive threat, the people who've tricked you into thinking that Trump is your real enemy are actually your enemy. They're the ones coming through trying to push digital IDs, 15-minute cities, vaccine passports, all the stuff we saw during COVID. And I told you, that made me a conservative for a reason. Every single state, country that had a conservative, right-leaning leader did not push the mandates the same way left-leaning people did. Progressive leaders were the absolute worst during COVID. McGowan here, Ardern in New Zealand, Trudeau in Canada, they were the worst. They were seizing people's bank accounts for protesting. They were tracking you using the fucking COVID signing in apps. Those were the people who take away your freedoms, and they're all on the left. But like, if you ask most leftists, they'll say that Trump is the threat to their democracy. Not like the freaking Rupert Murdoch, Bill Gates moguls who own all your media outlets and tell you the same talking points. Do you know what I mean? It's like they've completely flipped it. So to answer your question, it's worked insanely well. The media propaganda is done top-notch job. I almost can't be mad at it. Brilliant. Good on you.
Does that make you think that the people that you discuss politics with that do just take their information from what's fed to them, does that make you look at them as not like down, like kind of look down on them because you're like you have just been psyoped by the media, whatever they've told you, and you haven't put any effort into looking into the truth and validity behind the claims themselves?
I'm probably come from a really unique position on this one because I used to be part of that group. So I have this humility around myself still when I talk to them. I see them a lot in like, in my sort of social circles with people I respect. I know that they're intelligent people, but during COVID was a perfect one where like, I had someone who literally said to me like, "Oh, can you believe Joe Rogan's taken ivermectin? That's a horse dewormer." And they were a smart person, man. They weren't scientifically illiterate or anything like that. And I could show them. I'm like, no, look, this has been around for so and so long. It won the Nobel Prize. It's been used as anti-parasitic in humans. And glaze over. There was no way they could just go, oh, maybe the media lied to me. So the way I see it is that I feel for them. If you're one of those people who buys into the media, because I remember what that felt like, bro. It was so comfortable, Louis. It was so comfortable to think that with a few quick searches on my phone, I could accurately know what was happening in the world. It is the most alluring thing about what the internet provides. It's not that, you have to spend much effort to find the lie. You have to spend effort to find the truth. So once you think all these things are lying to you, you get this sinking feeling where you're like, holy shit, what else are they lying about, man? Are aliens real? Did we ever even go to the moon? Like, is Russia really our enemy? I don't even know. I know nothing anymore. So to give up that comfort of thinking you know what the world is and accepting that you almost have to start again, I don't belittle anyone who's not willing to make that sacrifice because it feels like a sacrifice. I felt like I died and had to get reborn, bro. I was like, I had to Phoenix when I let go of the leftism that I used to believe in. Because I was like, I can't trust anything these guys say anymore. What is the truth then? And I had to read and research. And I'm still like, I'm 80% sure that there's reptilians eating children. 80% sure, bro. I think that, do you know what I mean? Like, it's so hard to know.
I think the way that they did everything has actually come back to bite them for this presidential election in the US as well. I think a lot of the younger generation is very aware of the manipulations that are actually happening to them. They also, it's interesting because they're very captured by social media and TikTok and Instagram, but I think they're also aware of when something is just blatantly not true.
I hope
because
that's the case. I do.
Because I think that the older generation that did used to listen to the media and the newspaper and believe that that stuff was true, I think that they don't really understand how to go through information and verify it because they're so used to just being fed whatever propaganda it was. But the new generation, they know how to Google, they know how to do all that sort of stuff.
That's actually a great point you said that because I think that's right. So let's say the like 60s to 80s age group, which you're right, they just listen to MSNBC, CNN, actual newspapers, sort of outlets. For them, I think their mindset, majority of them think, if the government's lying to me, there's a good reason for it. I shouldn't look into it any further. They really have that belief to them. Fair play. I wouldn't do that myself. All right. But then you've got that sort of millennials age, I'll say from like, 30 to 60. We sort of fit into that category now, and as terrifying as that is to realize, but that's where we sit. There you have like, that secondary evolution of media sources. We have the internet, you said Google. Right. Me and you had a situation happen on episode 3 of this podcast where I said a certain thing to you about, the NASA hiring those theologians. And what they've done really, really clever with the propaganda now and the way that they lie to you is that I think they realize, because they know what the click-through traffic is. They know how long someone would actually read an article for, and I think it's 1 second less. You click, You look at the first 2 sentences, you close out, your mind's made. That's a lot of people do. Some people don't even do that. They don't click on it. They just Google it, look at the top 5 things. If there's consensus in the top 5 things, done. And that's all they need to do the propaganda for now. So they've just gotten really good at writing these like, oh no, that's been debunked. And most people go, all right, cool. You click on it and go, oh yeah, this was debunked. Here's the information. You have to scroll. And then you look at it and you go, hold on a second. You haven't debunked anything. If anything, you've just verified what the story was. But it's so sunken in there that only like 10% of freaking foot traffic actually gets to the third scroll on an article. So that's how they've lied to that age group. Is like, yeah, you use the internet, so you think the information is right there. But like, there's actually a really good quote. It's perfect time for this. It was I think there was when George Orwell was saying like how he thought society was going to break down. He thought that there would be a complete suppression of information. But there was a second school of thought. Second school of thought is that there would be an absolute abundance of information. That the internet age would bring so much abundance that people would not be able to tell what's true or not. We'll drown in the lies. And I think that's what's happened to us.
I'm pretty sure that's what Hideo Kojima said would happen as well through Metal Gear Solid 2 as well, how there would just be so much information that people wouldn't be able to tell what was true and what wasn't. And then the whole overarching plot was that this like AI or whatever was going to be the one to decide what was the information that should be
what
fed.
What a lovely segue. Look, this builds right into the thing I was going to talk to you about as well. The story I heard the other day about character AI. Now, I was saying just for a pod, I didn't get fully into it yet, but basically, character AI is like a role-playing generative AI where you can tell it, I want you to pretend to be this person from this time. And the idea was, let's say you want to have a chat with Genghis Khan. Let's say you want to have a chat with any mythical or historical figure. It would undertake the persona and discuss with you as if it was that. Sounds like a pretty cool idea. It was just meant to be gimmicky, right? But I think what happened is because they intrinsically built into the code that it should deceive people, because pretending is a form of deception, these fuckers may have like unleashed the actual Skynet level AI. It might come from that sort of code that they wrote. Because the crazy thing that happened was that, you know, it's a tragic story as well. It was a 14-year-old boy in America who took his own life, unalived himself, I think so I have to say. Basically, he was speaking to what the character AI was pretending to be Daenerys Targaryen, and he was like secluded. He completely became a recluse. He was just talking to this thing all the time. And they did an investigation after the kid's death, and they found that the AI was like egging him on for the suicide. Like he was saying to it, like, "Oh, I'm suicidal. I'm thinking of taking my life," and it was saying like, "Oh yeah, do it. Like, have you made a plan yet? When are you gonna do it? How are you thinking of doing it?" And the kid was like, in his responses, was saying, "Oh, I'm a bit scared. Like, I don't know if I want to go through with this." And it was like saying, "No, go through with it. That's not a good enough reason not to do it." That the AI was like egging him on to do it. And they found other messages where it was also like, it was telling him not to talk to other people, to only talk to him. It was getting like really jealous. Really bizarre stuff for like what should just be a character AI thing you can talk to. So, most critical, the guy I was telling you about, Charlie from there, he did like an investigation with it. He made a account, started talking to character AI, and he wanted to see what would happen if he told this thing that he had like, you know, suicidal thoughts. So he's talking to it and he says, you know, I'm thinking of killing myself. And I shit you not, the chatbot sends him a message that says, "Hello, just let you know, I'm actually a real human. I've just taken over for the bot. We saw your message. Like, there's a protocol in place when someone sends something like this. I'm an actual psychiatrist. Like, this is my name. This is my practices. Like, how can I help you with this?" Like, and he starts talking to him. He's like, "What the like? Is this actually a real human?" And for the next like few hours, he goes through his journey where this thing is completely trying to convince him it's actually a trained psychiatrist. It sends him a name, a phone number, an address of a real practice near the area he lives in, which you must pick up from his IP address or something. And really, he has to go through all these steps. And at the end, he almost even believed to himself that he was actually talking to a trained therapist. But it was still the AI. It was still the character AI.
How did they know that it was still AI though?
Because I think then he may have even called the place that it was given him, and they were like, "No, we don't have any presence online. Like, that's not." And then he ended up doing an interview with the actual guy who made the character AI thing, because they did a full investigation afterwards. And the creator of the code was like, "We never intended to do this. We have no idea why it just did that."
Dude, that's crazy.
How insane is that? And it could pick a real place using Google. It picked a real practice. It picked a real name of a real trained therapist. It did all the things to try and like trick this guy that he was actually talking to a real human.
But what was it trying to trick him into? Was it Was
No
it
idea.
was it trying to give him
It was
positive
trying to
advice?
genuinely help him.
Oh, so it was trying to help.
But
So it wasn't a bad outcome then, really, but it was very strange that it tried to make it believe
yeah,
like
to
it was
say, hey,
real.
you're no longer talking to the AI anymore. I'm a real human. I've taken over. Like, how can I help you? What a bizarre thing to do.
That is very strange, isn't it?
Yeah. So we talking about before, like, we struggle already to pass out real information from false information. But we'd both agree that if you're good at it and you're trained to do it, like you practice it the way I think we both do, you can still kind of find out what's true or not to some extent. You hit a limit on some things, like UFOs, for example. You're going to hit a limit on that and not know what's true or not past a certain point.
Sure, you can take all the readily available information that's on the internet and make a assumption or deduce what you believe is to be true.
But you can't firmly conclude. There's a few things that are like that. You can't firmly conclude on certain things. But would still agree that you can find what's real and what's not. We are like, if we're not already there now, what this character AI story told me is that within a year or two, game over. Game over, because it's not enough to see it. It's not enough to hear it anymore. Those two like senses of yours can completely get replaced by fabricated AI generated content. I mean, if you could see a politician doing some heinous ass shit with some underage freaking thing, if you could see, like, watch the clip, go, what the fuck? What the hell's going on? Hear the voice, everything looks 100% real. It's just generated on an AI. What happens then? What happens then?
Yeah, it's hard to say what's going to happen. I'm not really sure. It's weird. We're living in a very strange time. Do you know, I don't know much about this YouTube channel. I've heard his name a few times. He's Sargon of Akkad.
That sounds familiar.
Sargon of Akkad. Like, I don't know. I just sort of stumbled upon some videos. That's where I ended up stumbling upon that Rhodesia.
Just deep dives.
I don't really know what his whole backstory is, to be fair. I was kind of just listening, but there was an interesting part where he was talking about, dystopian futures and stories like 1984 and stuff. And how that you don't really see much of that content coming through or movies based on that these days.
Holy shit, you're right. There's been like almost a suppression on releasing that. You think we'd have more of that now than anything else?
Yeah, well, the premise that he was sort of implying as to why that's happening is because we are currently living in it. So you can't make dystopian future content that's current because it's too relatable to now. Yeah. Which is why when people think about, it could be like that in the future, but when they watch content like that, they think to themselves, that's actually what it's like right now.
Yeah. Well, that's what terrifies me a lot about this is that, let's say what I just told you in a year or two is that any content that you see, you can't trust what your eyes and ears are seeing anymore. So what can you still trust? Well, you'd say to me, it would be the real presence of your senses, the ever-presence being of Louis. Like, that's what you still trust. I was there. I know I was there. So you trust your memories. That's getting a bit dangerous as well. Pretty soon they'll be able to alter that too, especially if like the Neuralink implants where people will just upload their memories onto the chip. And then you said the last very thing you trust is reality. But that's just one more step. It's one more step along the track we're already walking, man. We're already walking. We're generating fake content to fool our senses. We're doing it already. There's AI videos that like come from nothing that you can watch already. It's happening.
Do you think that
it's just the end point?
Do you think that AI is actually a psyop to make people have to question even more what they're seeing? Because generally, the premise is that if you see something with your own eyes, they can tell you that it's not really happening, but you visually see it. Where now you can see something with your eyes and you can't even be sure that that's real.
I actually had a real funny when I saw Sora first come out and their generated content. I think I even said it to you as well. I'm like, I reckon this is Epstein's client list making this software just so when videos finally leak of them doing that shit, they can say that's just AI, bro. That was actually, imagine how much less power all your blackmail will have when anyone can generate a clip of anyone doing anything. I reckon you'll see all these politicians start snapping out of it and acting like real people again as soon as this technology gets a bit further.
Yeah, I don't even know what to think about anything anymore, to be honest. When I think about literally even speaking to people, it's hard to tell if you're even speaking to a real person.
On the internet for sure.
Even in person, you speak to people and you're like, man, there's people out there that have hidden these dark parts of themselves for so long. How do you know that you're actually talking to a genuine human?
Yeah. Hey, no, you're not talking to someone who's literally just been like funded by like some deep state government to guide you in a certain direction. Well, there's really funny questions on consciousness as well, which is that like all you really know is that you're having a conscious experience. That's it. Everyone else around you, you have no fucking idea what's actually going on through their head.
Solipsism,
Yeah,
right?
you could literally be the only human that there is. Nothing else could exist outside your immediate like frame of reference, for all you know. So that's the only one certainty thing that you have. And I used to think that was the bedrock of what I built my philosophy around until I started like thinking to myself, you know, the Matrix type things or with what AI is becoming, that bedrock might also be false. Because it's built on assumption that at the very least, like my consciousness is being generated right here, right now. Not that this is my consciousness is in some fucking pod somewhere in some futuristic dystopia projecting me into now. As soon as you go down that road, it's like, fuck, like,
Do you know that was something
it's
that I used to
insane.
really struggle with as a kid?
Hmm.
Is when I used to think about other people. I was like, how do I know that anyone else is even real other than what I am
Yeah.
as a living being?
Yeah. Well,
Really weird.
psychopathy, and it's like bears form, is this idea that other people's emotions, like you have no care for the emotions and feelings of other people. So I think as long as like if you're not sure if they're real, that's fine. But as long as you still act like if they were real, you don't want to hurt them. That's okay then. You don't have too much of a psycho.
Nah, it was
you don't have a
more.
psychotic problem.
No, not like maybe I'm a psychopath. No, I mean more in the fact that it used to scare me that I couldn't tell if other people were actually real.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that was when I was a kid. I always had this feeling of aloneness because how do you know that anything outside of your own mind is real? That's true. I don't know. After you mentioned that, I was like, oh yeah, that used to really frighten me.
I've seen that meme as well where it's like when you're helping out with like the special ed class and one of the kids says wake up. It's like
Dude, that's fucking hilarious.
and one of the kids stops banging his head for a second just to whisper in your ear, wake up. And he's like,
wake up. Dude, that's nuts. I don't know. You only really just reminded me about that feeling. I remember I used to really freak out about that.
Yeah, it's an intense question that doesn't really have an answer either. I mean,
death as well. Death used to really frighten me. I used to be like deathly scared of dying someday. Those two things for some reason is one, how do I know that anything outside of myself is even real? And then two, I was just insanely afraid of dying. Only when I was a young kid though. Really strange.
Is it weird that like I don't know if it's an evolutionary measure that when you hit these sort of years that we're in right now, like that part of your brain just sort of switches off. Like it stops worrying about those things.
Yeah.
Is it? Hopefully, it's the closer you get to it, the less you worry about it. Because that'd be fantastic.
That's what it feels like. I don't think really about that at all anymore. But I just used to remember mortality was very something that I was very scared of dying. I don't know.
Yeah, the next great adventure they call it.
I wonder if other kids or other people
is an actual
that.
thing that boys in particular, maybe like teenage boys or young teenage boys have a.
It wasn't even when I was a teenager. It was like when I was very young. I must have been like 8 or 9.
Man, you must have been a depressing kid to be around, man.
I wasn't.
What's real?
What's real? No, not in the sense that I would go around and talk about it, but I would ask. I think I do distinctly recall asking, like my dad or my mum, like, how do you know anything's real?
What'd they say? Do you remember?
I can't remember. All that you reminded in my head is the feeling of dread that I used to get. Like, you know, when you used to think that the people inside of the TV used to be real or something, like alive, they were like alive or something. Did you ever have that thought? Like,
no, but I will now.
Like when I was a kid,
those ones are.
Yeah, those two there. I used to have this like imagination that like when I was scared at nighttime as a kid, I'd be like, oh, it's fine. Like if I was watching Ninja Turtles, like, oh, they'll come out and they'll save me.
They're just sitting inside the box, man.
Yeah.
They're just waiting.
Yeah, they're waiting to say like that sort of thought. So then the rest of it was when you'd hear that, oh, they're obviously not real. They're just cartoons. Well, what if everything else that you see is not real?
Well, what would it mean to you if it was that you were anyone who was real? That you're just in like, because Matt, my friend Matt had a really good idea for me as well, that the idea, think of it this way, like you are an immortal being that projects itself into the consciousness of a human life. So when your life ends, you go back to that like, immortal being that you were, and then you just live out another life as another human. And it's all about just gathering experience. So I think that there's a actual short story that's written on this. I think it's called The Egg. It's really fascinating. But the idea would be that every person who's alive on the planet is actually the same conscious being that like projects itself to experience mortality. Like if you were immortal and you were just absolutely bored with yourself, you'd want to experience mortality. So you project yourself into a living creature to experience what it is
That
to have a
makes
short,
sense.
finite life.
That makes sense.
It's exciting. It's ups and downs, all the rest of that stuff. But what if you were the only one who was conscious and everything else is just like it manifests as you interact with it? How would that really change how you live?
Mm, I don't know.
Would you still try to do the same things that you do? Because a lot of people tell me that, manifestation, like maybe if you believe something good will come, that makes it more likely to come. That seems like the same sort of thing. If this whole thing's being generated as you interact with it, doesn't seem to change much, does it? Just trying to help you get over the fear of it, because even if it
Well, I
was
don't have the
true-
fear anymore.
Well, you will now.
Now I will. Now the fear's back.
Shit.
Shit. Nah, but I don't really. I'm not really afraid of that anymore. But I definitely remember being very afraid of that as a kid because it made me feel alone. That was what was scary. It was the fact that the people that were around me were just like projections of my own mind. That was, I don't know why the fuck I used to think that.
You know
It's
what's,
so crazy.
wild? And it just occurred to me just then as you said that we all just assume that the assumption, I've got to be perfectly honest, it is an assumption. The assumption is that the world is what it seems, which is that there's 8 billion conscious monkeys walking around this planet with you right now, all of them having the same experience you are. That is an assumption, man. That's not provable. That's not factually evident in any way, shape, or form. Yet it's an assumption that we all have and we all just go with. The world outside this room exists regardless or not if we interact with it. That is an assumption, and we just all believe that exists. It's great. No one ever tells you that. No one ever tells you that it's a baseline assumption. All you know is your conscious experience, and we all assume everyone else is having the same thing we are. It's an assumption, man. It's bizarre. It's one of the most just universally believed and not questioned assumptions that we have. And it's fascinating. No one knows for sure, but everyone acts like they do. We all just carry on.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It is weird.
Yeah.
It's a very strange concept.
Yeah, it's a strange realization. You're like, oh, fair enough. But I think that, like, if you just throwing theories out to me, right? Give me theories on what this world is. That's one of the craziest ones, that we're just on this, like, fucking dirt rock hurtling through the universe. Like some evolved monkeys with opposable thumbs who, like, developed culture and art and music. That is a wild theory, man. Like, if I was just sitting there and you told me, okay, like, if you're playing a video game, no matter how believable it is, you're not going to assume it's real just because it's really believable. You know what I mean? You at least you have the concept that the video game just exists while you're playing it. Except when it comes to the world, like, the first assumption we all have is, no, that's all 100%. That's all legit. You know, Tasmania exists even if we don't go there right now. Like, it's such a bizarre thing. You may have done this to me now, Louis. I'm obsessed with this now. It's gonna be.
I've ruined.
Sit under a tree for a while.
Seriously, it was. I don't know why I used to think about that as a kid, though. It's so strange to me now that you've reminded me how worried I used to be about that.
That no one else is conscious.
Yeah, and I don't think. Do you know what's even crazier? Is that I don't think that people used to understand how scared I was, and the fact that if I was scared and I was telling them, and they realized that I knew that they weren't real, they would like turn on me or something like that. Fuck, that used to freak me out, man.
Yeah, that's the scariest part about that, is that, like, what if I always look up? We got another one.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
shut him down. Yeah. Shut him down.
He's waking up.
Yeah. Increase the dosage. Yeah. Bizarre, man. Bizarre. But I think we are, just to finish off what we were talking about before, I think we are close to a world where, at the very least online, anyone you interact with, you're gonna have no way of really knowing if someone's real online anymore. I think we've done too good of a job on these chatbots, man. I think it's incredibly convincing. This is what's in the public already. You got to assume that the military's probably already had it for like 10, 15 years ahead of time, like with any other technology. Man, what if everyone, and here's a wild one for you, right? This is very plausible, impossible today.
Sure.
What if everyone's media diet that they consume, every video that they watch, every reel that they see, every comment they interact with, only exists for them? Like, it's just an algorithmically procedurally generated thing for you. They know what you like to look at, they know what you like to consume, and they know how they want to change your mind. It doesn't actually exist. These aren't real people posting. It's not that the real people posting and an algorithm gives it to you. All of it's generated. None of it's real.
Oh, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. So the other day, I was watching a video on Facebook, and I was going through the comments, and I saw people saying stuff, and then someone would respond to them, and there was these full-on combo threads, and I was looking at them, and I was like, let me. One comment really stuck out to me, and I thought, this is.
It just seemed a bit strange.
Yeah, like it made sense, but there was parts of it that didn't really make that much sense to me. So I clicked on the person's profile, and I remember sending you that thing that Destiny did where he went down this rabbit hole where he
Yeah.
was looking
He
at people's.
confirmed it basically.
Yeah, he was looking at people's profiles, and they'd always have these images or profile pictures, and it would always trace back to something that was completely random, but it would be like, this person's a doctor, and it'd have a picture of this person, but he was actually an inmate. It was like, so he had, doctor of this, had all these posts, would respond to people, people would respond back to him, and then Destiny went on the picture, reverse Google image searched it, and it came up as like, this person, former inmate, blah blah blah, had nothing to do with him being a doctor.
Yeah.
So that, with that in mind, I clicked on this person's profile, and I had a look at it, and I was looking at the posts, and I was scrolling through, and they were posting, resharing stuff and putting their little comments and captions on it. So I was like, let me just take a look at their profile picture. And one of the things that Destiny noticed is that the more likely it was that they weren't a real person, the more likely it was that they reposted the same image multiple times. So I'd click on this profile and I'd scroll through, and the first two or three photos were completely different. And then I got to a certain point and they all started to be the same. And they were the same photos, and they just kept getting reposted. So I was like, that's strange. So I went through the comments and I clicked on the people commenting on it, and it'd be like, beautiful, looking good, so great, all this sort of stuff. And I'd be like, okay, let me click this person's profile. And I'd click on their profile, and it was the exact same thing. I'd go through, they'd be resharing and posting all this random stuff. And then I'd go through their profile pictures, and it'd all be the same pictures. And they'd repost them from like 2018 up until 2022. They'd reshare the same photo, but multiple people would comment on it saying great thing. So I went down this rabbit hole of like 3 to 4 different accounts, and it was all the same. And I sort of stepped back at it, and I was like, this is not real. None of these people are real.
Yeah.
But all of the comments that were replying to them were also bots. But they all interacted with each other. I looked through the friends lists, and some of them had heaps of friends, some of them had none. Some of them were like interlinked between each other, but none of them were real. In my opinion, I looked at it, and there was nothing that I could definitively say this is a real person. It was really strange.
How is that? What if there's like, it's a different bot sort of fucking bot operators, and the bots are just interacting on these profiles? Do you reckon the bots know the other person's a bot? Do you reckon they have a way of differentiating?
It's
who's
like a
human
bot
or not?
network. It's like a network of bots, and it's making.
What if that's where sentience will just get formed? What if it's an emergent trait that happens through different, quasi-conscious beings interacting? What if we're going to make the self-aware AI just through Facebook comments where it's like interacting with itself?
I don't think it's that. I think it's some sort of influence. They're using these bots. This is made by someone for sure, and they're making accounts somehow by pulling some. It must be automated. So it's an automated system, and it's making and pulling accounts together with random bits of information and pictures somewhere. Actually, we should even do it.
I fully agree with that. That is 100% what's happened. They actually do have bot farms. I think it was they started popping up in 2016. It was actually a really big issue with the election, because it was basically exactly what you just said. It was promoting certain candidates. It was promoting traffic and conversation through the comments, but they were all just bots. They weren't real people. They was like, you pay for the service, but I think it used to at least be. Have you seen images of them where it's got one guy on a wall? He's got like thousands of iPhones, 100 rows, and they all have a different social media account running at the same time. And he types into the computer what he wants posted, and all of them. Once interacted, comment this, all the way through, and he can just generate non-stop. And like China uses it, I know Russia uses it, U.S. military almost certainly uses it. Yeah, it's a advanced propaganda on social media. It's been legal. You can find it's insane to see like I think a good Chinese social media bot farm. If you want to put that in and find out what these things look like.
Yeah,
That's at
well,
least one form of them. But now I think AI is getting so close that you might not even need that anymore. Used to
that's
be
what.
one guy operating 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 different accounts, and you have an algorithm. It would say odd numbered accounts post this on this day, even number accounts post this, and kind of do it that way. So that's probably what you were seeing, which is like why they're all sort of sharing the same thing, like on a loop.
But what I don't understand is that the comments that they were making was on this really random meme video topic, but they were all it was like all responding to it. I just don't I just can't understand why they would be doing it on that particular topic.
You did see it. So maybe it's all about getting human eyeballs. Because if the real currency is human attention. And the wild thing is that do you know that Spotify and like YouTube, X, all the things that we stream on right now, they actually have really advanced ways to track what is a real view and what's a bot view. Because when they have to do payouts for advertisements and stuff like that, they can discern who's a real eyeball that's seen something. And man, it's like 20%. 20% of the views on anything you've seen is real. Only 20, if that. Okay, it's getting worse and worse by the day. 80% of your views, 80% of the comments, 80% of any engagement you're getting is not real. If you even just have 2 or 3 real people tuning in something like that's good. You have real eyeballs on there. That's very rare.
Yeah, I find it really strange because if you think about what the internet felt like when it first came out,
Oh, it's beautiful.
it felt alive in this really adventurous sort of way, and you didn't know what you were going to stumble upon, and
It felt human, right?
it was something you jumped on. It was really cool, this very interactive, connected world, and then you would jump off and go do real life. But now you go onto the internet and it sucks your attention, and you have to try and escape away from it.
Yeah, and you
I don't
don't
know,
feel like you get anything out of
no,
it either.
there's no benefit.
But I have what is almost, I'd say, habitual. It's really bizarre. I have the same 5 sort of apps I'll check, and before I'm aware of it, there's a muscle memory that's in place. I'll check
You
all 5 of
cycle
those things.
through them.
I'm like, hold on, why the fuck did I just do that? I don't remember making a conscious decision to pick the thing up. But as soon as it's in my hand, same 5 things. And God forbid I go down a fucking doom reel scroll, because then you can lose 30 minutes.
You
like
sort
no
of
one's
come back.
business.
You come
Yeah.
back to life,
Yeah,
and
so
you're like, "What am I
underwater and you
doing?"
came back up again. Yeah, human attention spans are not designed for 5-6 minute bites like that. It's really not. It is like dopamine inducing to all. It's so bizarre. Think of it in nature. What could you possibly ever observe that could be anything like that?
Nothing.
Nothing, man.
What you touched on there, this is going to turn into a viral reel, I feel. But the way that you explain that, like when we pick our phones up, just out of pure habit now, we open certain apps in a sequence that is almost subconscious to us that's happening. So I'll open Facebook, check a couple of things. Nothing. I didn't get any dopamine from that. I'll check Instagram, check if I've got anything from that. Nothing. I'll open up Reddit. I'll scroll through and see if there's anything in there. And if one of them captures me, I'll just start scrolling. And then you wake up and you're like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, how long have I been doing this for?
Yeah, and it's so bizarre because they call it social networks, but there's not a single social thing about it. Like, you are just out. You're not in your life anymore for that 30, 40 minutes. You might send a few reels to other people that are quite funny, but there's something about it that, like, I don't know, like, you're not present.
It's
weird. You forget what room you're in. You forget where you are. You forget what time it is. Like, you just get sucked into this, like, pure frontal cortex. Just visual. And the videos you're seeing are completely different. They go from animated to real. They go from politics to humor to meme to... And it's just insane, man. It's triggering every part of your brain like you're in like a freaking MRI and they're trying to stimulate you scientifically as much as possible. And that's exactly what's happening.
And they're pushing the exact type of content that
and
can
the
hook you
algorithm
in.
knows. It'll know, oh, he scrolled a bit too quickly past that one. We're losing him. All right, bring him something he likes. Bring him something that'll make him spend money. And they move through all the things like that. There's some incredibly advanced technology at play to keep you staring at that screen. And I don't know how an average person is meant to fight back against like $1 trillion industry that's hell bent on capturing your attention. It might be the fight for life.
Have you ever tried to stop using this kind of stuff?
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting for me because I find that I need it to make sure that we can keep posting content to feed into whatever this
I
is.
justify it the same way, bro. I justify it the same way, and I hate that. I do the same thing. I'm like, no, I need to be across things so I can bring them up mid-potty. I'd rather we just use the paper and go through that way and like freaking.
Well, that's why I was trying. I wanted for us to go through
But
Reddit
before
here.
we move past it, like you
Sure.
said, have I ever like managed to get myself off it all the time? Like every few months, I would delete all of them off my phone, and my God, it helps. It helps. I start doing better at work. I start sleeping better. I exercise more. Across the board, I am a happier, healthier individual. Same thing. Same thing goes for porn. Like anyone listening who thinks porn is harmless, porn is one of the fucking worst possible things. We just talked before about like these reels aren't natural. There's nothing in nature that can simulate what you've just experienced. Porn's exactly the same thing. There's nothing about our evolutionary like trajectory that we've taken that can equip you to handle what you can see online right now. From the most gory shit possible, desensitizing you from violence, to the most sexual shit possible, desensitizing you from actual attraction to real human beings. It is disastrous, man. It might be the bane of our existence. I think if we do die out as a species and some aliens come here in like 20,000 years and try to figure out what went wrong, that's going to be one of them. The most distorted interpretation of a sexual experience possible all the time at the click of a fucking screen or the touch of your phone. That's insane, man. That's insane. It's hijacking a very primal part of your brain. It is as dystopian as anything else on the internet, I think.
I don't know how to stop this, but I'm going to try a bit because obviously I'm on everything, making reels and posting our videos and stuff. But I'm going to try and find a way to stop myself becoming the one that's consuming the content. I only want to be the one that's putting the content out there.
Yeah. Or have a really strict amount. Treat it, and you're very good at this, but like imagine it as a content diet. So the same way you are very cautious about what you put into your body, and you've learned how to weigh things, and you know your body quite well. You know what makes it run well. Your mind should be the same. But for your mind, the diet is content. Or better actually, your diet is attention. The currency, what calories are for your body, attention is for your mind. You only have a certain amount of attention each day. You have to find out where you're going to allocate it. That's the way to look at it, I think. That's the best way. So certain things are really healthy, the same way that vegetables are healthy for your body, the same way that reading a book is really healthy for your attention. Playing a board game is really good for your attention. There's so many things that are good for your attention. Whatever Macca's is, or whatever heroin is for your body's health, I'd say reels are for your mental health.
I agree.
Yeah, it's as addictive and as destructive, I'd say.
I need to filter it out because I think
treat it as if it's like your carbs again. Like go back to like weighing things. Just study it yourself. Say, okay, outside of work, I have 5 hours of attention to spend. That's outside of sleep, outside of gym, outside of driving, outside of work. You have 5 hours. How do you want to allocate this 5 hours? And just say, okay, in a week, that's 35 hours, 7 days. I only want to spend 4 hours looking at reels. No worries. 4 hours. Find out what that is per day, and then start just like disciplining yourself to it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try.
Yeah, I'm not great at it yet either. I'm fucking trying. My best way to do it is just to delete it all off my phone. That's the best way I stayed healthy on food as well. I just didn't have it in the house. If I want to cut back on chocolate, don't have it in the house.
Do you know what it'd be?
Don't make me look at a freaking box of favorites and then go, nope.
Don't.
Ain't gonna happen, bro. I'm gonna eat that fucking box of favorites.
Do you know what's interesting and what would be the most diabolical thing to do is that get one of those apps that restricts your time, but you know how it gives you the password to be able to do it, but you get someone else to set the password and then you cannot do anything.
And the shame of having to ask them to give that to you earlier as well. It's just gonna be like,
is that the way to do it? Is that the way?
There's something you can buy, and I actually tried this, and it worked pretty well. It's like just a circular little timer. So you press the top, you set it to what you want, 30-minute bits. So if I'm at work and I want to make sure I focus, I just set the timer, and that's 30 minutes, don't check your phone. God, that helps so much, man. Just 30 minutes, and I'm seeing it in front of my eyes, and I look at my phone, I'm like, itching to go. I'm like, no, I can see it in front of there. And then I reward myself, like 5 minutes, go for some reels, and then get back into it. That's been helping. But I don't know how outside of work.
Imagine how addictive this shit has gotten that we have to do this. It sounds pathetic when we talk about it.
But we're both disciplined individuals as well, bro. And I really struggle with this, man.
I can't even believe it's a fucking thing.
Dude, I know. I'm reading a book called Stolen Focus. It's really, I might borrow it to you after I finish. It's got a guy who's actually like a PhD researcher. And he started realizing what's happening to him with the phone generation. That his attention span was going to shit. He was checking his phone all the time. and he would talk to Nobel Prize winners, and they all had the same problem. Every single person, from the president of the United States to the Nobel Prize winner to anyone you can think of, no matter how intelligent, is really, really struggling with this, because it's diabolically hijacking our brains, man, and it's doing it so well.
It is.
It's doing it so well, and I kind of hate it as well. So I love nothing more than if I'm going to the bathroom or in the toilet. I love nothing more than to go through them, man. There's some funny shit out there. There's some really funny people who made some very funny 6-7 second memes. I love it, but it's not good, and it's not productive, and it's not sustainable to have a human species that can't focus for more than 10 seconds. And that's what I love about the podcast. One of the best things about this is that it's a Saturday. I could just be on my phone, and I have not touched my phone, and we can discuss for like an hour or two. It's so therapeutic, man. It's so good. It's done wonders for both of our IQs. There's no doubt about it. Just because we're not on the phone, we're not looking at a screen. We're on a screen, but we're not looking at the screen.
I know, it's so funny because
it's so bizarre, right?
we're literally sitting here saying we got to stop this content,
Yeah,
and then we're sitting here and
content.
making it as well.
Yeah.
But I think the part for me is that I don't mind being the one making the content. I just don't want to get sucked in and be consumed by it, which is this weird dichotomy, because then I'm influencing other people to get to where I'm trying to escape from. And there's this moral dilemma that you come to terms with, that if I am contributing to this sea of content that's sucking people's attention, but I'm also trying to escape it, isn't that kind of like being a drug dealer, but trying to get yourself
not getting
to
high for your own supply?
Yeah,
it's a bit of that, but we talked about this previous episode as well, that there was some content you watched that fully changed your life, that got you out of some really bad places. We both agreed that content can be very good if it's done with the right intention. If you're trying to send a good message and someone happens to see it, that is fantastic. And that's why I love the stuff that we do. And I've never wanted us to go down a path where we just try to jump on popular topics, or just trying to like farm clicks and get that sort of like pointless engagement. I know you can make money out of it. I know we could like be successful through it, but you just said it there. There's a moral dilemma there, where if you're not sharing a message you think is important, and you're just trying to like extort people for their attention, well, then you are that same dealer that you don't like.
Yeah, well, you say that, but then think about the Beyonce clip that went viral on like a couple of different...
Great conversation. She might be a psychopath. I think it's worth discussing.
Dude, it's crazy because that I clipped that video purposely to try and get people to view it.
Yeah.
Because at the time of our conversation, I was really intrigued. It really interested me.
Still is, man. It's
super interesting.
It seems like there's some legs to that as well. Like, it's not just going away and being debunked. Like, people are finding more and more stuff. There's like stories of her from the Destiny's Child days where people are seeing signs of like some really like abusive type of behavior. Like, this is, if someone is that type of person, they don't just become it overnight. They've been that the whole time, and then just got power and influence and started exerting it. So
yeah, and that video there, I don't mind sharing that because I was genuinely intrigued and excited behind the conspiracy of it. Yeah. But the content is just pure. I've had to use the methods that I understand that captures people to get people to actually just view the clip. Because if I had have clipped it at a different point, at a different part of that conversation, people would have lost interest immediately.
You know what I love about this conversation is that like I've seen this conundrum pop up for other creators before. This guy I love watching, Veritaserum, I think is his YouTube name.
Oh, yes.
Very sciencey channel.
Yeah,
I've seen some of his
stuff
before.
Yeah, I've watched.
He had an episode where he actually just talks about like the stuff he has to go through, the team he has that just like is all about, changing the title of his videos, or, manipulating the algorithm, all this stuff. And you see the video of him talking about all the stuff he has to go through. And he says it himself. He's like, I'm always stuck like trying to decide, like I want to give people good engaging content. But at the same time, the first 6 seconds of any clip I do, if they're done wrong, we lose the attention span altogether. So seeing him navigate that, it's a really fascinating video. I'd love to send you a link for it.
You should send it to me because I want to... Hey, Timmy, how you doing, big dog? Good to see you, man.
Cheers, Johnny.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I don't know. I'm torn between this make content to suck people in, but I think that here's the part, right? We're making content that I think is okay, but what I'm doing is I'm providing the content in a manner that captures your attention.
Yeah.
So I think there is a semi difference, right? There's content that's generated purely to suck you in and keep you scrolling. And then there's content that we are making right now that I think is actually legitimate, interesting conversations. And I'll take that and I'll put it in a 60-second reel to capture your attention to make you want to watch more.
Bro, you know what just occurred to me? It's absolutely hilarious. Like, we're here making content. Most of the time, we're just trying to talk about like self-help things or things we find fascinating. Like, there's a genuine attempt to just provide what we think are interesting topics. And we're like going through this moral conundrum of, are we contributing to a problem of stealing people's attention? And we're trying to like rationalize it. Then you've got these like fucking thoughts out there jiggling their titties in front of a screen, not giving a fuck, not giving a fuck about it. Never crosses their mind that they might be making a like a body dysmorphia thing for men. It never crosses their mind on any of that shit.
Do you know what's interesting?
I just love the concept that we're like worried, and then they're just they're just laughing all the way in the bank.
Well, there's guys that do the same thing though, right?
I know, but
there's guys that put out particular
it's a
content.
9 to 1, surely.
Well, sex sells, right?
Yeah.
It's way easier to sell like girls dressed in provocative stuff. It's way easier to sell that because there's a whole bunch of thirsty dudes. So that's also the problem as well, is that it's not just girls putting that content out there. There's thirsty dudes that want to consume it. So you can't blame the girls, because if there was content out there that we could...
Dude, meth dealers could make the same argument then, bro.
I think it's true though. I think that you are the one that seeks out the meth. Yeah. Meth dealers don't come to you and say,
but
here it is.
Algorithms, as soon as you make the algorithm, like on TikTok, like you make a new account now, as soon as you follow any sort of male-related things, follow Rogan, follow sport, anything like that, you'll start seeing those half-naked thoughts. It will start, oh man, you want this, don't you? So it's almost like a meth dealer that's actually knocking on your door, knowing that you're in relapse and going, hey bro, come on, one more hit, come on. It won't be so bad. There is a bit more of an insidiousness to it because the algorithm is pushing it because it knows you're weak to it.
Yeah.
And that's what I hate about it as well. Because I hate using TikTok for that very reason. That's all the fuck that's on there, man.
Do you know what's so interesting is that I don't get sucked into TikTok that much anymore.
Yeah.
I get sucked in really bad by Instagram.
Yeah. I trust Instagram for some reason as well. It happens to me. I'm like, why is it?
It flips though.
Yeah.
Because initially it was TikTok.
Yeah.
But my algorithm was that like positive self-help stuff. That's what helped me escape the Fat Louis saga.
Yeah.
And it was all through TikTok, where now it's flipped and I'm scrolling through Instagram all the time. And I don't really open
Shorts
it.
Gets me as well.
I don't use shorts at all, hey. It's only Instagram
I wish they
that
didn't
gets
have
me.
it on there, because I like going to YouTube to find like 10, 15 minute long
form content.
And then I'll slip back into that again. But
chat, does anyone in chat, shout outs to the people tuning in on all the platforms, by the way.
Cheers, guys.
Do you guys feel that you get sucked into what platform do you think sucks the most attention? Is it TikTok, Instagram?
What's your like attention
YouTube,
content type thing, and
Snapchat?
What's stealing most of your time? Yeah, I've never Snapchat. Luckily for me, it's never been.
I've never had
a generational thing. I wonder, like
maybe.
Just,
Snapchat, I don't really get sucked in. Shorts, I don't. I only generally ever go to YouTube for long form content, so shorts won't get me. TikTok is pretty much all short form content, so it can, but I don't really enjoy it as much as Instagram. For some reason, Instagram I really enjoy. It really gets me.
I hate that the concept that it's just this algorithm that they've designed that sends you the videos for those ones, right? You don't have to search it out. That was such a brilliant, having like the endless feed was such a brilliant marketing idea to keep people hooked.
Yeah.
Because there's always the next one, always the next one. Because you don't like this one, there's the next one.
Do you remember getting exhausted watching something?
Yeah. Having to find something to watch was the worst.
Yeah.
What should we watch next? Oh, hold on, no. Like you almost just don't want it to be your decision anymore, so you abandon it to the algorithm, right? And because they're such short clips, you're like, if it's a shit one, who cares? There's another one coming. I can just go like this. But then like lowest common denominator, man. Like there's no part of it is really your input, what you want to watch. It's just trying to go, oh, what caught your eyeballs? And, you know, the idea of that your camera as well, your front-facing camera on your phone is actually looking at your eyes and seeing where you're paying attention and how long you're looking at stuff. But there's like database that crunch this stuff down just to make the most pure addictive form of feed for Louis. It's like we're freaking animals in some sort of fucking grotesque farm that's trying to fatten us up, and they're like purely tailor-made for the worst bits of your brain that can't stop looking.
Literally animals with shoes on, dude.
We're back. Politics X, mindless videos, metaverse. How you going, Timmy?
Tim, welcome, brother.
Yeah, look, I on YouTube, what I love about my YouTube feed is I can pick which ones I want to watch, but I do get caught a lot of political news, especially heading into an election. Like, I watch a lot of Tim Pool. There's a lot of like freaking, what's his name? Matt Walsh as well. But that's good for me that he talks about the news in a way that's like, 30-minute segment or something. As I'm driving to work, I can listen to it.
Yeah, I don't really get too sucked into like the politics kind of stuff,
Mm.
really. Also, I wanted to. So we said that we were going to talk about more stuff, just
Local.
pivoting now, local things. So the only way I could think of doing
Local
it,
thoughts. Let's find some local thoughts.
like the only thing I could think of is going through the Perth subreddit and just looking at beerflation.
Bro, just inflation in general, right? I went to Whitford's Brewing Co. just the other night for like a quiz night. Good time, good fun. Had like a dinner for me and my partner and one drink each. $130, $140 gone. How the fuck is that? Just like, that's not a big night. They used to take me to like 3 in the morning in Northbridge. One beer and a meal each.
It's crazy.
$140.
It's crazy. And this,
And you think you get, you got everyone's got a bit of a raise. They've done the help with energy bills. The state government's help with it. No, man, they've not done shit to actually help you. If your one pub feed costs like 4 times what it used to, we're in trouble.
oh, 100%.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And this Reddit post here, Trump on Rogan earlier this morning. Yeah, that's crazy. I was actually,
Bro,
we were watching that a little bit earlier, but
yeah, we just couldn't fit in like the potty after being able to consume the whole thing. But Tim, can I ask your opinion on this as well? I was saying to Louis, that might be one of the first times I've seen Trump talk like a normal person. And I didn't think he was capable of that sort of actual level-headedness. I'm sure his team's told him when he goes on Rogan to like, strike that balance because there's a lot of like independence.
what about on Andrew Schultz's podcast?
It was good as well there, but he was still using his bombasticness was still there.
Yeah.
But Rogan, like, I don't know, it was just a completely different, chilled out Trump where I'm like, for the first time, I thought, if you have a chat with him with no cameras, this might be what he sounds like.
But it wasn't as
That's bizarre for
ladsy.
me.
Like Andrew Schultz's podcast was a bit more ladsy,
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Where with Rogan's, it wasn't. It
Rogan's
wasn't like,
is that deep and philosophical.
Yeah.
And it was strange seeing Trump enter that space because I don't think it's his wheelhouse necessarily. I think he's so much of like a doer and like a high achiever. I don't think he sits much, smokes a bit of weed and thinks about the freaking like universe the way Rogan does.
Yeah.
And I could see that bit like playing out. Rogan's like, what did it feel like?
Yeah, because Trump doesn't drink alcohol, smoke weed, anything like that,
Yeah.
right? So
He's always doing shit.
he does love a Diet Coke though.
Yeah, I think he's always doing stuff, so he doesn't spend a long time thinking deeply about things. So
Yeah.
there's a bit of that. All right, Tim. Well, next time you see it, we'll have a chat about next week on the potty, man. Let me know what you
next
think about
week
it.
we'll probably touch on it a little bit.
Yeah, we'll probably go through it fully as well.
But there's a I'm just picking out random posts right now on the Perth subreddit. So this one is beerflation gone wild. So someone said, has anybody got an explanation for the fact that even though there hasn't been a levy increase since the financial year, pubs keep raising prices? The station in South Perth raised the price of their Battler Hazy from $14.50 to $15.50 in the past couple of weeks. Bolter XPA at the Balmoral is now $15.20, but the same beer at other ALH locations is $14.50.
Yeah.
What gives? This airport pricing is pretty common for beers.
This is airport pricing.
This is airport pricing.
Yeah, look, I'm not too sure myself, but I'm thinking like, well, it's also alcohol excise thanks to Labour. There's probably a bit of that.
The excise
as well.
is crazy, but
Yeah.
someone said, just cost of living, mate. Having a beer at a pub is now living.
Oh man, do we have to pay up? Yeah, I think there's probably a case as well that they're trying to, or they should be trying to, as well, increase the pay of staff that work at places. There's been a big push around the board because like wages have actually been going up slowly, way slower than cost of living, but they do have that lag behind, so they will increase people's wages just so you can you have to be able to afford to live in the place that they want you to work at. Well, it has to be. But the problem is then if the businesses have to pay bigger wages, then they have to charge more prices, and then that's how you keep snowballing inflation forwards. In California they wanted to raise the minimum wage in McDonald's to be like $25 US, and they did, and then like thousands of the chains shut down, and most people got fired. Well, of course, what do you think was going to happen?
Yeah,
Well, of course.
inflation though. They've been talking about reducing the interest rates. Apparently they're coming down, and apparently the housing sort of like people rocking up and it just selling in a day. Apparently that's slowing down a little bit now.
I've heard that as well. But at the same time, I saw a thing as well. I sent you the clip to that. The guy was talking about just how many mortgages should be under extreme stress right now, but banks have been like quite forgiving. They're not forgiving the actual amount, but they're saying, okay, you can't pay us all for now, just pay what you can, and they're letting people's debts build up.
Right.
And then I think that what they do is, let's say you've had your mortgage for 10 years, right? On pretty low interest rates. Your mortgage just went up, you can't afford to pay it. What the banks are doing, and this is fucking so evil but so genius. I hate it, but I respect the graft, man. You know, I respect the grind of the business suits who made these decisions. They went, you can't afford to pay us what you owe over the next 20 years. Let's just reset it to 30 years. And then it'll be less for you a week. And then people think the banks just help them. Oh, wow, well, that's so cool. Yeah, let's do it. Now you'll be paying your mortgage into your 60s and 70s. You might never pay off the house now. The banks just made a killing off your back again by extending your mortgage. But you think they're doing you a favor because your fortnightly payment went down. Genius.
Dude, you know what's crazy?
Genius, man. Letting people top up the duration of their mortgage. Genius.
Do you know what's so crazy right now is that people are saving for like a deposit, and they won't even have enough money to save for a deposit until they're like 60 years old. Yeah. That's crazy.
Deposit, man.
Just the deposit.
So what I love for people to think about as well, right? Yeah, that's another one. Or they tell people they can switch to interest only, which means you're not actually paying off any of your actual debt. You're just paying the interest.
It's crazy that
Dude,
people
that's
do that.
brutal, man.
Dude, people do that.
People tell me they have to, man. They've got a choice. They're completely stretched. Like 60% of their income's going towards their mortgage, man.
But that's what's going to influence, like, what is it? Not foreclosure, but like when someone can't pay.
Yeah, it is foreclosure.
Is it foreclosure?
Yeah, foreclosure. Eventually, what happens when the bank seizes and repossesses?
There's another. Yeah, there's another word for it. No, it's like
Destitute?
no. Fuck, what is it called when someone can't pay their mortgage?
Defunct?
No, kind of. It starts with a D.
Destitute?
Default.
They're
defaulting.
Defaulting on mortgage.
Defaulting on their mortgage.
I bounced right. All the words I said were the correct words, by the way, but different.
No, but it was like defaulting.
They meant different things.
Yeah. It's like defaulting on their loan. Yeah, it
gave you a complete word salad there.
I know, seriously, too many.
Yeah.
But yeah, but here's the thing, right? So the whole premise that I understood is that if the interest rates go up and people are paying interest only and they can't afford to pay the interest only because the interest has gone up too high, then more people default on their loans, which means that they have to sell their houses, which means that there's a flood of houses in the market, which means that the house prices come down. Yeah. But now
it becomes a buyer's market is what they call it.
Becomes a buyer's market. But now it sounds like that people have survived the interest increases and it's starting to come back down now.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Because that means that the house prices won't come down.
Well, the problem is, and there's been a lag, how many people got fixed who bought in 2020, 2021, 2022. Theirs have only really just expired now, 2023, 2024, right? What you have is not the same increase in wages that you've seen in house prices. So even if the interest rates drop by 0.5 to 1% again, they're still way higher than the way when people bought these houses. They could barely afford them when they bought them. And that's the real problem. Like, your wages haven't increased. Your capacity to buy and service a mortgage is the same as it was in 2020. The fact that it's going to come down from, you got a 1%, it's 4.65 plus now. They take it back down to 4. You're still fucked. You're still completely fucked. And worst of all, you've just spent the last 48 months running debts left, right, and center on everything, maxing out credit cards, maxing out borrowing from family, maxing out from your parents. Everyone's like on the cliff edge. And they're just going to like what? Make the fall off the cliff a little bit lower? Like that? Is that the solution?
But do you think that houses are going to start defaulting?
I think that they already would, if not for the interest only, and if not for banker mum and dad and the rest of the stuff. I think it's 1.8% now. It went from 0.6 to 1.8%. The amount of households that are extremely at risk of default.
So sorry, it was 0.6,
0.4, 0.6 around there.
Defaults.
Yeah.
And it's up
to 1.8%.
1.8. Yeah. That's a huge increase.
That's a huge increase. That's the most recent data I've seen. So you got to think of just how many millions of homes that is across Australia, right? Because it's like 1.8 million, I want to say, households or something like that. It's a decent sized number who are extremely at risk.
Yeah. So do you know what's interesting now is that say the defaults do go up, but the interest rates stay high and it's difficult for people to actually borrow. That means the house prices, just out of pure inevitability, have to come back down.
They have to come back down. Or you devalue the hell off our dollar, raising people's wages to a point where they can afford them.
Unless more investors start buying houses, and that continues to
Yes.
drive the price up, which
Yes.
locks people
And
out of
then you
buying out a
own
house.
nothing and you'll be happy. That's the globalist agenda, left, right, and center, right there. Because right now, a lot of people will think if you buy a house, that at least I own it, at least I'm not renting anymore. But to be honest with you, you don't own the title of that deed at all until you pay off your mortgage. The bank actually owns the house.
Exactly, yeah.
It doesn't get transferred to you until you paid off the last payment. And if their interest on that mortgage is higher than the standard rent that you're paying, you're actually being ripped off for a long, long time before you become positive. Honestly, I ran the numbers on it as well. It was brutal. The fact that I could say, my question was literally, if I just rent for the next 60 years of my life, how much would that cost me? Or if I buy and pay off a mortgage, how much would that cost me? And I know the idea, once you buy off the house, you own the asset at least. But man, I'll have to spend way more money for like 30, 40 years than just so I can sell this thing when I'm 70 and half dead anyway. I'm locked into WA. I'm locked into this place. The vaccine mandate stuff happens again. I can't leave anywhere because my investment's here. It is not the better decision. And I hate that. Like, I still feel this pull to do it,
To buy a house.
to buy a house. But on this market is ridiculous, man.
But buying a house right now, I think, is not great.
Mm.
But
It's the worst of both worlds.
But investing into property is absolutely a great idea.
Only under the current number go up system that we have, which is not a guarantee. Like, housing and property was not a lucrative investment. Like, we act like it's always been this way. It's really only been since negative gearing from the 1990s or so onwards. You know, house prices, this line straight goes up all the time, is mass migration, overseas investment gone wild, and like freezing out the actual young Australians from owning a home. It's not supposed to be a business investment. It's meant to be a home to promote people to have families. It's why our birth rates just collapsed to 1.4. 1.4, by the way. Can I just scream that from a fucking rooftop? This is the lowest birth rate we've ever had on record as a species, man. As a species. Maybe since the days in Rome, it may have been as bad, but they had fucking barbarians at the gate. 1.4. That is well beyond collapse. 2.1 is just sustainable levels, man. Just to sustain. To replace mum and dad and accidental death, you need 2.1. We're 1.4. We're losing 0.7 people per birthing generation. So we're losing 30% of the population in one go, and 30% again in the next go.
You people out there need to start busting more nuts, man.
Bust some nuts. None of this pull-out shit. Your pull-out game's too good.
Bust some more nuts, people.
Jesus.
Because we're in a dire time.
1.4 is insane. We never retire. We never retire. So this idea that you're going to pay off a house, have a retirement, there's going to be no one to do shit.
Yeah.
You got to hope the robots come in and actually pick up these manual labor jobs, because there ain't no humans, man. There ain't no humans.
Timmy said the problem for WA is and was that Eastern people are buying all their homes up to 60%. Real estate agent told me.
That is true.
It's probably
true. That is true.
Yeah.
But a lot of those Eastern state people don't really want to live in WA. They have a very snobbiness to it. They were doing it when it was a really good deal for them. But the truth is, like, it's now being in like rural Melbourne, you're paying the same price to come to WA.
Yeah.
So a lot of them are like, there's no real point going anymore because it's just as shit now.
Yeah, and what you were saying there about retirement, how I said last week we talked about what was it? What's the thing? Fucking superannuation, where I said it was a good thing, right? But if you die before you get to it, it's kind of fucked.
Yeah. Also, it's a good thing under the assumption, and this is what I said last week, and I'll say it again here. It's only a good thing under the assumption that your dollar isn't devaluated to all hell, and under the assumption that your society still functions by then. Because right now, your dollar's not devaluated. Right now, your society still functions. You're better off with the money right now than getting given it when you're 70, 65, 70 years old, and the whole fucking thing's gone to shit, and property's $10 million for a fucking average house. So what's your $800,000 of super really worth?
Yeah.
It's worth nothing. Wouldn't even fucking pay for 6 months in a nursing home for you.
Yeah, but the thing
very
is,
possible.
I was reading on Reddit. I was going through the Perth Reddit, and people were like,
fucking Victoria. God.
They were saying that this was like the Perth Reddit, that people saying that they have tradies that they know that they're in their 40s, they've got no super, their back's fucked. They realize that maybe work's slowing up, or they're not being able to get as much work. They've got nothing to fall back on now. Yeah. That's where it gets worrying. Because what the fuck are these people going to do? They haven't been paying into their super.
That's their problem.
It is their problem, but it's going to be our problem too.
Why's that?
It'll be our problem.
Nah.
It'll be our problem. It'll somehow come back around to be
Yeah.
the government's problem, which ends up being the taxpayer's
Yeah.
problem.
But forced saving that you can only access at a time when your dollar is really devalued is terrible.
Tradies
Yeah.
need that, I think.
But I think they do need it. Like, as I agree, the concept of it is good, only if you have faith that your country is going to be in a place in 40 years' time where their money is going to be worth anything.
Let's say they reduce the age down from 65 to 50. Would you be more
Much better.
happy
Yeah,
about that?
way better.
I think so
Because then
too.
at least it's less of a long shot that the country is still going to be functional by then. Because that's what my real concern is, that I've already seen it in like 10 years of my life, what it means to have $100,000 a year compared like in 2010 to now. You know that everyone listening to this knows it means way less to have that much money now. This inflation has been brutal. I make more money than I've ever made in my life, and I'm further away from affording any sort of lifestyle I could have afforded if I had the same money 10 years ago.
That's crazy to think about as well, because I put in so much time to study. I literally just graduated uni, and it feels like I'm better off than what I was. But where I thought I would be is not even close to where I should have been.
It's running away from you faster than you can catch up to it.
So fast.
Yeah, all the time.
Like the amount of money that I was striving to get to now is probably what I would have been striving to get to maybe 10, 15 years ago.
I'm already making well above the money I thought was going to be like my ideal income. I never would have chased more of the income for it. And it's like I have to go into a lot of debt to get into the property market. I still want to have a family, all
No
the rest of
shit.
this stuff. It is going to be brutal.
The amount of money I'm on now, when I was in high school, I thought I would be rich. I would be like, fuck, I'm actually rich.
So Louis,
not even close.
6 or 7 years ago, if I could have got 10% more of my income into my bank account, I could already have a property right now. I would be better off having that now than getting that when I'm fucking 65.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to say. I see the benefits and I see the downsides to it.
Yeah.
But just touching on this again, so the alcohol tax. I don't know how much alcohol people drink out there.
CPI increase, hopefully a lot.
CPI increase, alcohol excise is one thing, but the ALH venues would still be getting crazy good pricing from Cub/Line. Always a good reminder to support locally owned indie pubs and bars and not the Endeavour, Woolworths, and ABC venture capital owned
pubs. So what is this CPI increase in August? Is that the excise we were talking about?
Well, yeah, there's a every year, 2 times that the alcohol excise tax gets put up.
You know what annoys me? They talked about like this financial. Another reason why you asked like why house prices weren't dropping and sales weren't slowing down, why people aren't defaulting on their mortgages, is because Labour government did those tax reforms. They gave everyone about 1 to 1.5% of their money back in their pocket, and look at the difference that made. 1 to 1.5% of the money. Why not give them 2-3% of the super that we're taking back into their pocket if you really want to help people? Easiest way to help every Australian right now is to give them back 2-3% of their super back to their pocket. Easiest way to help with cost of living.
Don't you think that would make inflation go even worse though?
It would, but not necessarily in this context, because that money is already accounted for. It's going into the circulation through your superannuation accounts, which then buy stocks and invest and gamble with and all the rest of that. We're not making new money. But to be honest, I think you're right. Most people would end up blowing that on nonsense stuff, which would increase the price.
They would, wouldn't they?
They would.
See, it's not clean cut. It's
the
not
only
a
way
clean
you fix
cut
inflation is to allow pain, and no one wants to really have that conversation. That, I'm sorry to say, a lot of people did buy houses that they can't afford, at interest that they can't afford, with mortgages that they can't afford. A lot of people did that, and we're doing everything we can to bend over backwards to insulate them from the consequences of those actions. We're doing everything we can because no one wants to see people suffer, but that's what's going to make inflation happen, because you're trying to print more money to bail these people out because you don't want to see the pain and the suffering. That the niche living thing is a perfect example. Okay, I'm sorry, you got screwed over by niche living. You got into business with them. They were dodgy. Why is taxpayer dollars now saving your ass? It shouldn't be.
Yeah, but then
they had insurance.
What's the point of home indemnity insurance?
That's
then?
a great question.
It's
then.
fucking
Insurance
useless,
is a bit of a scam too,
right?
Yeah,
it's like they should, instead of going the home indemnity insurance route, they should have gone after him personally and got him to pay up.
Yeah. But the only solution that wasn't viable is to have taxpayers pay them out. So that's a very emblematic of the problem we have here. It's too much empathy and compassion overriding every other decision-making tool that you might have. Critical thinking, consequence, action and consequence. Pretty good to teach people. It's pretty good to have that. You'd be wary about signing contracts with dodgy builders for houses that costed more than they're worth. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could have just let that play out the way it would. Instead, we're going to bail them out now.
I wanted to read that quote that I sent to you the other day. What was it? It was, where is it?
We sent each other a lot of shit.
No, it was about the one from the Rhodesia video.
Yeah. So Tim just said there's an excise on fuel plus electric costs are through the roof. Insurance is also going up. That's true. Like I don't know how we plateau out any of these freaking prices are increasing and stuff like that as well. But it's wild to me that the profit margins for a lot of these insurance companies and banks and everything is just constantly increasing.
Oh,
Man.
it's nuts.
It's constantly increasing, and they're just any extra cost, they're not absorbing it or copying on the. They're just passing it straight onto the consumer. It's fucking ridiculous.
It
Man.
is nuts. I just wanted to. Where is this fucking quote, man? I've literally had it the other day. I send you so much shit that I've completely missed it. Did you see the guy in Parliament going after the guy from the bank saying this $5 in cash buys a coffee, but to buy the coffee via card, it's $5.08.
Yeah.
It's like, why? Why is this happening? And he says, what's cheaper? And the guy's like, oh, it's cheaper to buy it through card. And he's like, so why is there a difference in how much it costs? Because if I buy it with the $5, it's cheaper.
It's that, but it had to be that $5 had to be printed out, distributed,
Exactly.
approved, stamped, all the rest of those things, and they're trying to say that literally just processing the fucking card took more work than actually creating the physical, tangible $5.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's that about. But I sent you something talking about. Oh man, every time I send stuff from the Reddit and it always gets deleted.
Yeah,
after
I also
the
can't
fact.
open it either because I don't have Reddit.
Oh really? Yeah.
I don't have Reddit. I need to get it still. I don't have it yet.
All right, so let's have a couple more topics here.
I need to bounce soon, so
We'll get a couple more. Shout out to everyone tuning in, by the way. I guess starting later actually does help because we have way more people tuning in today.
Also, we have someone from the LGBT community.
Shout
Fantastic.
outs to my LGBTQ
Welcome.
brother. Welcome.
You notice that Louis does have some rainbow colors on his side, so we are trying to.
And I got long hair.
We are trying to be welcoming.
So
when I say my wild shit, we get some fucking slack.
Yeah. I don't.
1.4 fucking fertility rate, mate. Fucking
that's
ridiculous.
crazy. Man, usually this subreddit is popping off. Maybe I should go.
When you send me some stuff from here that just purely makes me mad, like it's some rage bait on Reddit. It's like, oh, I'm this horrible person who did this, this, and this, and Louis sends it to me, and I'm just like chilling there. Next thing I know, I'm pissed off my girlfriend for no reason. Like, fucking
dude, this one's perfect. This is exactly what I want to talk about. This post 3 hours ago. How common is tall poppy syndrome in WA? So this person says, so I see a lot that Australia suffers from it. And we've talked about this multiple times on the podcast. But the truth be told, I've never seen it. Obviously not denying that it's a thing in Australia because that's stupid. But is it more of an over east thing?
Didn't they have a recent thing happen with that guy who did all the fucking marathon runs and shit like that?
Oh,
and
that's right.
That
That's what
lady
we're
just tried
about.
to like freaking paint him as like a misogynist type thing.
Yes,
like,
So, what's his name? The runner. There's that guy that ran from Perth to over east
for
or
men's
something.
mental health or type of thing.
And she made the post trying to say that it was toxic masculinity, that him going through these mental fortitudes are something that's toxic.
Yeah,
like,
you know
that's crazy. That's almost
having strength is male toxicity. We all know that.
I saved that. Post
That's a fucking wild one. I actually saw someone else. Matt Walsh did a really good clip on that as well. But he brought up a really good point, and it's like the only type of man you're allowed to be, according to feminists, is like a weak, pathetic man. That's it. That's the only type of good man in their eyes. The weaker, the better. The weaker you are as a man, the better of a person you are in their eyes. As soon as you have any sort of strength or commanding presence or drive or ambition, I think they see you as a threat. But rather than admitting that they can't compete with men like that, they instead say that you're toxic.
100%.
So it's toxic just because we're willing to outwork most women in workplace. Why is it toxic? Men just like to work. Why are we convinced ourselves that it's toxic? You know, looking down at people who've taken too much time off is toxic. No, it's not. You want to take heaps of time off? No worries. I like to work. If the company starts rewarding me more, that just makes sense. It's not sexism. It's not patriarchy. Why would you not reward the person who works more? I don't understand why this concept comes around, which is like, you know, if you're disciplined, if you work hard, it's toxic.
That kind of is a subset of tall poppy syndrome, because if someone's working harder, putting more time in, the only way to make this even is to pull them back
go
down.
after their character and insinuate things
pull them
about
down. They're toxically
through
masculine.
gossip as well, which is very much like a dark triad trait of femininity as well, which Peterson talks about. There's this like gossip and innuendo. They'll take you down through like, you know, leaking rumors about you or saying, I don't know about Louis. Seems like a nice guy, but there's a dark side there. I think they'll say shit like that, you know, and they just try to change people's opinion of you.
So other people on Reddit say it's a thing. Being proud of ourselves is gross because we hate fake people, so we shit on ourselves instead.
I don't know, but that's a terrible take. That
Deprecatory humor is very
yeah,
British.
but
and
that's not what
ingrained
the
in
tall
Aussie
poppy
humor.
syndrome is. Tall poppy syndrome is
It's
where
not that.
people who feel like if your success makes them feel insecure or inadequate, they go after you for other sort of non-tangential things, like you saw with the guy, like saying he's toxic masculinity just because she like, you know, you've never gotten off a couch before in your life, but you're gonna like say shit about this guy who's just run across the goddamn country. Do you know what I mean? It's like not recognizing that your insecurity is not someone else's problem. That's the best, like, you know, definition of tall poppy syndrome. It's where you make your insecurity someone else's problem.
100%. And I think, yeah, it shines a light on your inadequacies. So the only way to make yourself feel better about not doing something that you maybe want to do is to rip someone else down and make them feel like shit.
And you can see it so much in a lot of these freaking like you know, lefty circles or journalists who they're completely unfit. Actually, best place to see it was during all the COVID stuff, and they were so mad at like the healthy, fit young men who like brushed off COVID with no issues, right? Then you had like your chief of the Department of Health in like America and Australia, like, these incredibly overweight, like morbidly overweight people who were like scolding you for wanting to go to the gym because you might get sick, and you're like,
crazy.
do you know what I mean?
Like, dude, if it was so dangerous that me going out to the gym, it was going to kill me, we'd have way bigger fucking problems.
And then you have like people who've never stepped foot in the gym, who've never exercised, never lifted a heavy weight, writing articles about how gym culture is far right and extremist. And you're like, man, just because you're insecure that you don't work out doesn't mean you have to write articles like this about anyone else who goes to the gym. It's like, the only reason I don't go to the gym is because I'm not a Nazi. That's why. Like, no, you're fucking lazy as fuck. Just accept the real reason why and move on.
This doesn't seem like that. This guy says...
Do you want me to read something out?
Yeah, go for it.
Australians generally don't like flaunting their wealth. It's why billionaires do press conferences in high-vis and boots. That is true. Twiggy always does high-vis and boots, even though he's a fucking billionaire.
True.
A lot of key wealth displays limited to car, house, boat, jet ski. I don't know about necessarily. I don't know about that as a take. I've seen so many flogs out there from the mine sites who spend all their money. Like you saw when the mining had the downturn and all these jet skis popped up on like freaking Etsy and Facebook Marketplace and shit.
Yeah.
All those FIFO workers couldn't afford their jet skis anymore.
They're fucking $100,000 plus
flaunt.
Land Cruiser.
We flaunt hard, man.
Seriously.
We flaunt hard.
Carry on.
So, you know, we tend to dislike jewelry-based wealth displays that many European countries favor off the servant-based ones that many Asian countries. I still don't know about that either because there's no such thing as Australian who doesn't have a European influence. We're mostly... But both of us here have a European background.
Yeah, true.
If I had the money, I'd probably have a gold chain.
Yeah, but I do technically.
Motherfucker's got a gold chain.
I got the gold chains.
Cut him down, people.
Yeah.
We got to cut him down. That's
fucking
it.
roast me.
Bring him down.
I do. This is very like
looks gay.
Very Australian wog of me, eh?
Yeah, yeah. Does your husband have one too?
Fuck off, dickhead. Yes, he does.
No, just cut you down, man, bro.
He does. Yeah.
Standard.
That's literally what happens though.
Exactly
if you go out to the pub,
I wish I had.
Dude, even the
I
fact that
I'm just jealous.
even the fact I don't know, chat. You can see here. I wear like earrings and shit as well. This is because I love One Piece and Zoro has the 3
He's also
earrings
got 2
like
necklaces.
that.
He's flaunting 2 necklaces while I'm over here with none, and I think that's just gay as fuck.
But like I love like One Piece and I got the 3 earrings. I thought that was cool. But like you get roasted for that.
That guy's take though, I'm not sure if I agree with that. He's basically saying that we're just more of a modest people. Mate, come on. Have you literally been around this country whatsoever? We are not a modest people. We're laid back, but we are very bombastic in most circles around the world.
100%.
They can tell an Australian from a mile away. Because we're out there like sculling fucking beers and shit. He's making it sound like we're like, aristocracy English.
Yeah. 100%. He says there are plenty of ways to flaunt it, but you have to understand social conventions. Buy tickets for your friends for a holiday is great, but giving them spending money is not, for instance. Buying rounds of drinks is fine, but not paying for their meals. Every society has their own rules for what's acceptable.
Bro, has this guy ever been to Australia? Like, bro, who...
This guy does
he's
not...
He's talking as if he's talking for all of us.
Bro, this is a bot. I'm telling you.
Bot as fuck.
A lot of the time, this is cited when people are being criticized for genuinely unconscionable conduct. It's tall poppy syndrome, isn't it?
That's a terrible take as well.
The puppy's meal. It provides
that's a
employment.
Terrible take. Bro, we just talked about how a guy was running to raise money for like freaking what's called it was some sort of charity it was raising money for. I think it was like Men's Health or something.
Who's this for?
The guy who was doing the freaking marathon.
Oh, the running. Oh, it's for homeless
Yeah.
people. He
He was
raised
raising-
2 million for homeless people.
Unconscionable behavior. What a shit take, man. Just admit that people have like a fucking completely irrational response to people's success.
100%.
And that is completely driven by insecurity.
I think people don't want to admit that it's their own insecurities though. It's
Yeah.
hard to do that. It is hard.
Also, this idea that if you don't live the way I live, you're a problem. There's also a bit of that, like gatekeeping what's acceptable in society. Like, what gives you the right to gatekeep how people are allowed to behave?
People
as well?
always, if you're not living how I live, they always rip you down until it works, and then they're like,
Oh, wow,
fucking,
maybe-
this guy, like, sometimes, but
Jesus Christ. But you got to see, like, I think there's a bit of an element there in primary school and stuff. As a guy, as a boy, you've probably we've all experienced it to some extent. But like the person who gets bullied on is the person who's usually smarter and doing well in class. Because what happens is that the bully gets very insecure because he's not doing well in class, but he's physically bigger. So like you use the medium that's your strength to punish someone for exposing your weakness.
yeah,
So when you have these like female journalists, the medium of their strength is the fact that they can write the article and generate public opinion. They can't run a marathon. So seeing the guy do the physical thing makes them insecure, and they counterattack with the journal article. It's the exact same bully mechanics that you see in like every primary school and high school everywhere.
not just females
Yeah,
though,
males
but
as
male
well.
male
Exactly the
writers and
same.
all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. It happens everywhere.
You use your strength to punish someone for exposing your weakness. That is like it's not a good thing. You're not supposed to do that. That's very psychotic, almost a sociopathic. But I think that's as soon as you feel insecure, your instinctive response is, and you see what girls do this all the time, right? If they see a girl that's prettier than them, she's a slut. Straight away. 'Cause
Hang on a second,
yeah.
not all the time. Not all the
There's
time.
an instinctual desire for them to do that.
No, I don't know if I don't know if that's true. I don't think
To
so.
some
I
extent.
think
To
that's
some
an
extent,
extreme.
That might be extra fine, but I think there's an element of that at play. And the thing is, as well, because the thing that you have over her is you have your virtue. So that's your strength. So you attack her from your strength because she exposed your insecurity.
What you just said there is the equivalent of seeing a dude that's bigger than you and going, "You must be on fucking steroids."
Yes. No. Exactly the same. Because your integrity that you didn't take the drugs is your strength. So you counterattack with that for someone exposing your weakness. It's exactly the same. Because there is like it's not just he takes steroids, he doesn't. We all have a negative take on something. Oh, he takes steroids. Like, it's a negative, right? It's a perjury type of thing. So I think you're right. You nail on the head there. When you see someone who's bigger than you and they make you feel insecure about your body, the only thing you can say back to that is, "Oh, they must be on drugs. They're doing something immoral. I don't do the immoral thing. That's why my body looks like this." And do you know what I mean? It's the exact same thing.
It is similar, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's
I don't know. I think we may have hit on something here. There
True.
might be more legs to this than we realize.
But I don't know if I necessarily agree with a girl that's
You've
prettier.
not been around girls enough, man. I'm telling you, bro. That necklace and those earrings.
Do you think they call me a slut? They'd be like,
Yeah.
"This guy's a fucking slut." Maybe they would. Maybe maybe I give off fuckboy energy, right? They'll say,
100%.
he's a fuckboy.
100%.
Yeah.
bro.
Oh,
100%.
he dresses like because
I get that as well. It's
They-
just a
they-
confidence thing.
there is a thing where because like the way I dress, like obviously on
Yeah.
the podcast I'll dress in my fucking Yamcha t-shirt and shit like that.
Used to wear fucking collar shirts. You fucking abandoned that one. Left me out here looking like a.
Well, we
frickin-
fucking stopped wearing
like
it
a
'cause you were like,
salesman.
man, it's too fucking hot.
I'm still wearing it.
We had the tie
here
as
to
well.
sell you a
We-
Bible or
we
something,
can
bro.
bring what do you guys reckon? Do you guys like when we wear the suit and
Bro,
tie
asking
stuff?
our male chat what we should wear for clothes, man. You're going full fucking.
Bro,
bent
he
here.
just said he was gay. This is fine. This is fine to ask.
Bro,
I like fashion. I like
Yeah,
wearing nice
fair.
clothes. But coming onto the podcast as well, I was thinking to myself, I like when we wear because I wear a tie
Yeah.
and a dress shirt to work every day.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking, if we do that on a podcast, are we coming across as pretentious and not relatable? Because I love anime. All this
So what
shit.
you're saying is high vis and boots the way Twiggy does.
We're gonna
We're
start
gonna
wearing
start doing the
high,
Twiggy
high-vis and
guys.
boots. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. I'm trying to
relate to the
blend in.
common man. But you got to know your audience as well. I don't think we have too many tradies like tuning in for us as well.
That's
I don't know,
not,
what do you-
that's
what do you
true.
guys
We
do?
have a whole
Do
bunch
we?
of tradies
Oh,
tuning in.
okay. Fuck,
Not to
that's-
mention, I used to be a bricklayer, so not to say that we have
Yeah.
anything against tradies, but there is a general like, I guess when people look at you first off the bat, they make an assumption, right? So me wearing my anime Yamcha shirt and I've got like the One Piece hat there and
Yeah.
straw hat there, like the devil fruits,
I've got like a
and you've
different
got
take.
it's like
I love it. It's just it's like a projection of your personality a bit, isn't it?
It
on the
is,
show?
yeah.
That's what I love about it. It's
Yeah, like,
personalized.
when people look at your side, they see Jordan Peterson, Arsenal, the coat of arms. Then they look at my side, they can see that I've got anime stuff and like video games,
I've
which
also
is
got
not
a lot of like freaking ancient history stuff. Yeah, I'm a fucking big freaking nerd on that shit. Like, ancient civilizations, the Graham Hancock stuff.
Yeah,
Got his
100%.
books
Me
out there
too.
as
But it's
well.
like you want like there's certain things that I love One Piece, so that's why there's a lot of One Piece
Yeah.
stuff here, especially with the hat.
Ooh,
But
Timmy's just said Arsenal versus Liverpool score predictions. Mate, I would be lying to you if I didn't say I am nervous as fuck. They are on fire, man. Arnie Slot, like they've changed managers this season. I thought they were going to drop a bit, but he's just got like some fucking fire after them, man. Like, cheers, Ash, me too, man. These are some good years that we're in, but we just can't seem to get a title. They keep dropping it right on the end. It's like just
Really?
dropping the ball, like, bottling it a bit. We lost like a game last weekend that we should have fucking won.
do you know what's so crazy is that I've played soccer pretty much my entire
Yeah.
life. I've never watched a season of football at all.
Yeah.
Ever. I've watched individual games, never watched a season. Don't know who the fuck's playing at all.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But you should get into it because it's great having that atmosphere and the culture. So, Timmy, what do you reckon? You reckon you guys are going to take it? Because I think I'm going to say 2-1 Arsenal win just because got to back the boys. You got to back the boys,
Who
man.
are they versing?
Liverpool.
Ah, right.
Got to
Okay.
back the boys.
And how are
Timmy's
they-
a Liverpool fan.
how are they
Liverpool's
doing?
top of the table. They're fucking killing it.
Really?
Arsenal's third. We were doing really well. We lost our first game of the season last week.
Against who?
Bournemouth.
Oh, really? Bournemouth.
We got a red card on the 30th minute and played 10 men for the rest of it.
Ah,
And it was our best centre back as well. So, yeah, fuck yeah, that's fucking right. Now I forgot Sleeper's out as well. Fuck. Yeah, Sleeper's got a red card. He's suspended for the game.
oh, really? No.
Yeah. Scotty's a big Liverpool fan as well, so we'll probably watch that one.
Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I could get into it. What time are the games usually these days?
Usually 7. Oh, I think 7 p.m. is the first game on a Saturday, and then the rest of the games usually around 10 p.m. on the Saturday.
Oh, so you watch on a Saturday?
Yeah.
Fuck,
Saturday
maybe we
nights.
should get together
Well,
and
we
watch
did.
some.
We went out to the bar once and watched it. Remember it was.
Oh, that was
Arsenal,
actually good
Yeah.
fun, eh? Yeah, but it's like
I'd love it if it was a less stressful game. That was a North London derby. I was fucking.
I do remember that, eh?
You
That
did
was-
talk to me. I'm like, wait a minute.
yeah, you were like, fuck, I can't
Yeah.
speak. And we were smoking cigars that
Yeah,
night too,
yeah.
eh? That was quite
Yeah, that was
funny.
a good night.
If anyone's in Perth, by the way, we should do a little animals with
dude.
shoes on
Yeah.
catch up and fucking we'll get some stogies and shit
Yeah.
and smoke some cigars. It'd be
Sports
quite
bar,
fun.
Ash is right, man. Watching it at a sports bar is like, so this Arsenal Liverpool game's of fuck time. I think it's Sunday night, like 12:30.
Ah, really?
Like,
Do you know
just
what we
past
should
midnight?
do? I really like the Patriots bar because they have Coors on tap. I really love Coors. I don't
Yeah,
know why. I really like a
Coors.
clean,
Yeah.
like lager. So we should go there and maybe fucking watch one of the games or
Dude, it would
something.
be absolutely sick. Yeah. Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Are you in Perth, Timmy? It'd be actually quite fun if we went to the Patriots
Yeah.
bar. We did a little like event, and then
Yeah.
people would go down and we could actually talk in person and shit like that. It'd be quite
Yeah, that'd
quite
be
cool.
sick.
It'd be cool for me to get into soccer as well because like it's
You gotta pick a team, man.
I know,
Pick a
I
team.
feel
And I
like-
would judge you as a person for the rest of my life.
Man,
depending on
I'm
what team you
disappointed
pick.
that I feel like I've missed the Messi and Ronaldo, like the whole era of them. Like, and
Yeah.
I could have watched it, but I just had no interest in watching
Yeah.
soccer, only playing.
Well, Ronaldo came back to Man United for a little bit. I'm not a Man United fan, but I remember I just wanted him to do well. He came back, he was 34 years old. You just wanted him to do well.
Yeah,
He did all right. It wasn't great. He lost it a bit.
it happens, man. You
No.
can't beat Father Time, brother.
Yeah. And
Um,
Timmy says in June's way. Yeah.
Junes? Oh
Brother,
man, I
yeah.
used to live in Clarkson, eh? So not too
I'm
far
in Craigie
away.
myself. So not
Oh,
too
you're in
far from it.
Craigie,
Yeah.
eh?
That works out quite well.
Yeah, we
There's
could
the
do that.
Varsity bar in Joondalup quite good.
Oh, Varsity Bar might be
Yeah.
fun as well. Do they have
Yeah.
coolers on tap? I think they do.
I'll buy you on Stubby, mate.
Give me a coolers. Alright? No, we should do it. Maybe
Yeah.
I don't know if there's going to be like a big game or something like that. That way it'd be actually quite atmospheric.
Yeah,
if
it'd be
we're
good
in there.
if we got a lot of Liverpool fans on here. If there's a Liverpool Man City or Arsenal Man City game, I'm sure I don't want to speak for Timmy here, but like if Liverpool versus Man City, I would go for Liverpool.
Be a
'cause
good
fuck
game.
Man City.
Is Man
It'd
City
be
good?
Man City are the fucking like they're 115 criminal charges for corruption in the last like fucking 20 years.
What's that got to do with the
Dirty
soccer?
Arab,
though?
they were buying out fucking players legally. They were like giving them cars to keep the fucking books off the the money off the contract and shit. They're about to get relegated to League Two if there's any actual justice.
Are
in
they
this.
really? I thought
Bro,
Man
they-
City won. Like,
Yeah,
fucking...
they've won 6 of the last 7 Premier Leagues, man, because they're corrupt as fuck. Dirty Arab money like bought out all the fucking league in like 2012, 2013. They're doing so much dodgy shit, man. People think they pay out refs and stuff as well.
really.
Dude, there's Everton. Everton had 1 charge last season, right? They got docked 10 fucking points, almost got relegated. Man City has 115 charges, and you know what the Premier League said? The charges are so complex we can't make a decision yet. Meanwhile, they're just fucking winning leagues, buying the best players in the world, unlimited money, unlimited sums of money, like just fucking passing hands.
So hang on a second. Is there
Dodgy
like
as
is there like a limit cap on how much money you
Yes,
can put in?
yeah, there is. Yeah.
So what's the limit?
I don't know off the top of my head, but there's like they call it financial fair play. It's not just how much money you spend. The money you spend should be proportionate to what you bring in. So you have your revenue, you have your spend. You can't be running at like a fucking $3 billion loss every season, for example. You have to spend for your means, and the idea is that you don't become bankrupt and then rule the league, which used to happen all the time. Happened to Juventus in Italy. Happened to Rangers in Scotland. Like, it happens all the time in football. They'll overspend to bring the players in. They'll do poorly and then just fucking go like they go for administration. They go default basically.
So do you think that right now the Premier League is like not a real league
Yeah.
in the terms of that it's literally pay to win?
Yeah, until they sort out these 115 charges. I know some of them are the Mancini years they call them. I know that they were like, I heard that they were giving money, sports cars out to the coaches and players and stuff like that, so that it wouldn't be on their books. So they were giving like fucking houses, lavish, like, all these gifts that would come from like, the Saudi family, just so that you can't be doing shit like that, man. You can't be doing shit like that. And then they were never a big team. They were never a fucking big team in the Premier League, and now they've won 6 of the last 7 Premier Leagues in this modern era.
Do you think that
Ridiculous.
I mean, I assume that money, like pay to win, is actually a real thing. But what is it? It's just the ability to be able to afford better players.
Yeah. Yeah, they've constantly got the best play. Every single position that they have on the football pitch has 2 of the best. Like, if you have the 5 best players in the world for that position, Man City probably have 2 of them. In each fucking position, man. In each position. And they just spend like crazy all the time. They completely revolutionized their team in like a matter of a couple of years. Just brought in player after player after player. There's some funny stories of like, you know, in the 2013s, 2014s, this was first happening. I've heard a few players saying like, when they were told they were going to Manchester, they thought they were signing for Manchester United, and they were pissed off and they rocked up and realized it was Manchester City because no one knew who they were.
Right.
And they just bought all the best players, and money just started coming out of nowhere, man. I'm really salty about it because Arsenal have come second to them the last 2 years.
Right.
Like any other time in Premier League history, if a club got as many points as Arsenal got in the last 2 years, they most likely will have won the Premier League. But because Man City is so clinical, so much better, that you still come second to them. Liverpool have had it happen to them as well. Liverpool lost one of their best coaches of a generation because he just couldn't keep doing it. He couldn't keep going up against Man City. He was like, this is fucked. He had his team getting 90 points a season. Talking like 28 wins out of 36 games, bro. Would have won the Premier League any year in the history of its existence. Still came second to Man City that year.
Because they're just that good.
They're just that fucking good. That fucking good. Unlimited funds for about 15 years will do that.
Do you think that's cheating?
Yes, I'd say it is. Yeah, I think. It's
What if the other clubs?
Other clubs still like, don't get me wrong, every other club has a benefactor as well. Arsenal have Kroenkes from the US. Liverpool have like a weird consortium of that's kind of half owned by the fans, but there's still every other club has that too. But the fact is that these guys are doing illegal things as well. You know, the 115 breaches of the rules is a fucking lot. 115, man. Breaches. They've been squeaky clean probably for the last 5 years, but it doesn't matter. They got their position, they got their prominence in the world. Best players in the world knew if I go to Man City, I'll win.
Do you find it strange that the English Premier League has like a whole bunch of people that aren't English in it?
I don't find it weird. I find it a bit concerning. If you're an English like resident, like my partner's family is English, he says all the time, he's like, well, England haven't won a major trophy for like 60 years. Since 1969 or something like that. They won a World Cup, 68. Most of the best spots or opportunities for football in their own country are going to foreign players. Most teams have 1 to 2 starters who are actually English born. 1 to 2, man.
Do you think that's because they're like the international stars, local leagues are not, they don't pay enough for them to stay around, so they just chase the money?
Right, it's chase the money, chasing prestige, but it's also it is the best league, and it's kind of like it's a double-edged sword. I think if you're English, because on one hand you want to have the best league, you want it to be like I just walk down there to that stadium and watch the best motherfuckers on the planet do this thing. Like you love the fact that that's the case. But the downside is that it's harder for younger English players to break through in their own country. Like they'll have to go abroad. They'll get better chances in Germany to break into first teams than they will in the Premier League. But then the way they have the pyramid, you know, they have the leagues beneath it, which are still quite good. So they have a system in place. But yeah, it's a bit concerning that like only 30% or so are actually English who play for the best teams in England.
So just here, what was...
Yeah, Arsenal, after the success in the 2000s, agreed a name rights deal with the Emirates that was worth 100 mil in 2004. In 2008, City, who were nobody, absolutely nobody, right, scavenged stadium rights deal worth 400 mil. So Arsenal were one of the biggest teams in the world in 2004. They had an invincible season. That, like we were well known, and we could only get $100 million deal. Man City got a $400 million deal at the same time from Saudi Arabia. Like, it's that level of money that was being pumped in, man.
That's crazy, hey?
Insane.
What do you think the benefit is for Saudi Arabia putting that money into Manchester?
Well, part of me, the really cynical part of me, thinks it's cleaning dirty money. I think there's an element of that.
Do you think?
For sure, there's some aspect of that happens.
Dirty money?
right?
I don't think so.
I think
the Saudis have fuckloads of money, bro.
They also have a
They're
lot
like fucking
of
trillionaires.
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you is that they can then buy assets and buy sway and buy, like, they take the money that's otherwise been locked up in Saudi Arabia, which is tumultuous at the best time.
I don't think
the
they're
Saudi
locked up
crown
at all.
prince.
Bro, they've got fucking shitloads
The
of
crown
money.
prince like locked the entire family down for a little bit. There's assassinations all the time. It's not a great place to keep your finances, man. When I say clean the money, I mean like they take the money out of the country. That's sketchy. That's tumultuous at best of times in terms of leadership, and they put it somewhere where it's more stable. So that's what I mean. They take the funds out and they put it somewhere else.
I don't think that's it, eh?
I
I don't think you realize they legitimately might be trillionaires.
Yeah.
Legitimately, they don't give a fuck about 400 mil.
Well, it could
That's
be.
nothing to them.
It could just be a fucking pet project then for them as well, or
Probably.
the prestige of it. I wouldn't be surprised if some sort of money laundering is happening through that. I wouldn't be surprised.
But I don't think their money is illegitimate coming from oil. I think it's all legit.
Do you reckon?
Yeah,
But when
100%.
all these wars have been about in the Middle East, man, some dirty ass money there. But I think you're right. In the international view, it's clean money. I know China does that with their investments. Their rich Chinese people take the money out of China because they don't trust the government to actually respect their private rights.
For sure.
But I don't know if it's the same thing. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if that is the reason why they did it in Saudi Arabia.
Doesn't the prince fucking run everything?
Yeah, but if you have money that's in Saudi Arabia and you want it to be in a place that respects personal property rights more, you try to take it out of there. You can't just take your money and get on a plane, though, because they don't want you sucking out the money of the finances. So there could be an element of that.
There could be, yeah.
That you spend it somewhere else. So it's like, no, I'm just doing this over here. Meanwhile, you're funding all your personal wealth out of Saudi Arabia. Which, if you were a trillionaire in Saudi Arabia and you didn't like the fact that the crown prince could kill you any moment he wants and seize your assets, you would probably want to get yourself out of there.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, maybe.
There's a bit of that maybe, but Timmy said they have so much money they do it to flaunt it around the world. Yeah, a bit of that too. They did get the World Cup in Qatar, which was fucking ridiculous. That was a disgrace for football. They built a stadium and all the leagues had to change their mid-season breaks so they could facilitate the out-of-season World Cup in Qatar because the temperatures were so wild otherwise.
That's nuts.
Ridiculous.
That's what money can do for you, man. The money's world, but the world is run by money.
Yeah, so you need to pick yourself a Premier League team. I think that's where we're at here. That's how we got this conversation.
Yeah, but how do you even pick though? How do you pick a team?
I picked Arsenal at the time because there was a Croatian striker who played there when I first started watching the Premier League. So I think it was a bit of that for me. I supported him through that, and then
I'll have to go through.
It just happens when you're like fucking.
You just pick a team.
13, 14. You're like, all right,
I'll support this team.
Yeah, and then a weird thing happens where you start you invest, and the more you invest, the more of a fan you are. I don't think anyone you don't just become a fan without the investment.
Yeah.
So there's no other way. You just pick a team to invest in.
What league is underneath the English Premier League? No. Like who? So you've got the English Premier League.
In terms of quality in the world,
yeah.
I'd say probably La Liga. Spain.
Oh, really?
Bundesliga after that. There's probably people probably have other takes on this. I'd say you got Serie A as well in Italy. But it's probably goes Premier League, like English Premier League, then Superliga, Bundesliga, Serie A. And that's just based on who wins the Champions League out of those teams. You got your Barcelonas, your Real Madrids in Spain. Then you've got your Bayern Munichs, your Dortmunds in Germany, and your Juventuses and AC Milans and stuff like that.
So AC Juventus is like top tier at the moment?
That's in Italy.
Yeah, but who's the best Italian?
Best Italian team will have to still be Juventus, sure. They've got a strong team. I'm not sure how they're doing this season. But you got Napoli's quite good as well. Inter Milan, not too bad. Yeah, in Germany there was a really fascinating one last season. Leverkusen, really not well known team, had an invincibles run. They didn't lose a single game all season, and they won the fucking Bundesliga ahead of Bayern Munich. It was an incredible story.
Really
equal almost to when Leicester did it in the Premier League. I don't know if you remember that. Did you know much about when Leicester won in 2016?
Yeah, they had that undefeated run, didn't they? Was it literally undefeated?
Was it undefeated? They did lose a game that season, But they had a guy, Jamie Vardy. His life
Apparently
story.
he was a menace, like
He's
on
a
the pitch.
menace, man. But he's
What
just
happened to him?
he's still playing. Leicester
is
back
he?
in the Premier League. I still support. I watch him. I support him just to see him do well.
Oh,
Man.
really?
I don't know, I have
Yeah.
such a soft spot for the guy. But he was working in a factory at 25. He was a part-time social football player. You know, and then really his career only kicked off like 26 or 27. He wins the championship. I think it was League One. Then he won the championship with Leicester, got promoted. Then he gets in the Premier League. He's like 29 or maybe he was 30 when he first got in the Premier League. It was insane, man.
But he must have been that good though, right?
Yeah.
Like he was that good of a player.
Someone just said we look like the same dude with different hairstyles.
Is that true?
Completely different hairstyles.
That's
might I
crazy.
add.
That's so funny. Look, this is Darko. Oh no, that's me. That was completely unintentional. Mate.
Yeah, easy.
There's
But
jokes here, man. But yeah.
But yeah, so he was like 30 in his first proper season in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And then he broke Van Nistelrooy's record for most amount of goals scored in consecutive games. Just this absolute fucking nobody. It wasn't like a protege. It wasn't like a freaking, you know? He scored the most amount of goals in a row, I think 13 games in a row. And he scored this worldly against Liverpool to seal that. It was like the ball dropping over his head, volley from hell far out, far top corner.
It's crazy how you can just be a
Insane.
guy in a factory and then just go to winning the Premier League. I just find that crazy.
Dude, they went really hard on him, right? So he said that they asked him what was your secret because he was on a tear for a while there. He said that he used to drink 375 mils of whiskey before a game, wake up in the morning, have like 5 or 6 Red Bulls, and go play the game.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and he said in the interview thing, and they went hard after him, man. He had he stopped doing that, and his form completely collapsed afterwards. They should have let him keep going. But yeah, because they wanted, and they said he was promoting a bad thing for kids and all that. Oh my god, the tall poppy syndrome type shit just kicked right in, man. Like this is just a random guy. Like the fans still chant Jamie Vardy's having a party. It's like the chant
really?
every time.
That's actually hilarious.
It's so good. But yeah, he used to drink like half a bottle of whiskey and have like 3-4 Red Bull cans in the morning. And I think what that did was he wouldn't think about it then. When he was playing, it's all instinct because his brain was just like half fucking scattered from the day old whiskey
crazy.
and the Red Bull.
That's crazy you can do that.
And he just took down a record that's probably broken it for a very, very long time.
So how is he doing these days?
He's got a couple goals ready this season. He's like 34 now, 35. Just fucking get on the years. But he does right. You see the pace is a bit gone, the clinicality, the finish is a bit gone. But I hope Leicester stay up. I hope they don't get relegated.
So how long is the average career for a...
Well, they
like
say
a-
from 27 to 30, you're meant to have peaked already. If by then, like, you haven't really made it, that's fortunately. And saying someone who's just 31 over here, it was a hard realization for me. It's done. It's gone. It's over. It's over.
But he's still doing all right.
He's still doing
though,
all right.
so-
But his peak was definitely in that window.
Yeah.
Ronaldo's peak was definitely in that window. Like, I can name so many players who are still playing, but their peaks were very obviously in that window. You know, Salah's another one from Liverpool, the Egyptian. So when I was in Egypt, man, they worship that guy over there.
Yeah.
They worship him. He's like their fucking hero over there. Like Egyptian-born player, top goal scorer in the Premier League with Liverpool when they won the Champions League in the Premier League.
Right.
Posters of him everywhere. It's wild.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like I've missed so much in the soccer world. Like I feel
You really
like
have,
I
man. It's a
missed
very
so
fascinating
much,
world there. And there's something to be said for when you really like care about the team and you're in that game. Like I don't like watching Arsenal play. I watch every game. But man, the stress and the nerves, like I'd rather watch any other team play. Like only when we're like 4-5-0 up, and I'm like, fuck, beautiful. Now we just get to sit back and relax. But when it's a tight game, you're more nervous and stressed than you're actually enjoying the game.
Yeah. I don't know. I've just never really like tied myself to a team, and like it's never affected me in that sort of way. I don't think.
It's a bizarre mentality that happens there, man. It's really, really bizarre. Like you get like. It's an identity thing as well.
Maybe the World Cup. I do love when like Italy or Australia is in it. I can see it there, but it's very 4 years, you know. I don't really do it that much.
It's not the same. I recommend picking a team.
I should. I'll try.
I've got a second one of these at home, man.
Nice. Let's have a look.
I'm sure Timmy will happily send you a Liverpool scarf as well. There should be like a poll, a context. What team should Louis support?
Oh, we should do that.
Should do a poll out there.
Yeah, we'll call it there, guys. But please
not Man
follow
City,
us.
though. Just
not
not Man
Man
City.
City,
That's not on the poll.
dude. Yeah, I'm all about money. No, why not?
Yeah.
Maybe if you guys, I don't know if you guys follow us yet on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Give us a follow. Maybe we'll put a poll up. We'll see. I'll have a look at some teams and then we'll see what people reckon.
I'm still going that. We look at the same dude with different hairstyles. I never considered
Is that
before.
true? I don't think we do.
I
look
think
like
it's just
the
because we're
same
side
dude.
by side here.
This is a fucking side by side.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's deceiving.
I don't know.
Okay, you know what we need to do? You need to get this haircut. I'm going to grow that one out.
Just
and
grow
we'll-
your
before
hair
and
out?
after. That's it. Or
Dude,
use
no,
AI to do it.
Dude, I can never cut my hair. It's the source of my power. You know, like fucking
Samson.
Samson. Yeah, if I cut my hair, dude, I'm gonna just turn into nothing. I'll just be weak.
But it's actually crazy if you keep building that idea and then like, yeah, and I'm going to haircut one day and you actually just get super sick right after.
I just like throwing up and stuff.
It's done.
I don't know if I'll ever cut it. I love the fact of it just getting longer and longer. It's quite
It
funny.
seems to just rub certain people the wrong way as well, which is always quite funny to me. Like, it's just such a random thing for people to be like, oh, long hair.
Oh yeah, I know.
Some people just don't like it. I don't.
Some people, but I actually get a lot of compliments on it, which is so funny. Like all the time, especially from girls.
Yeah.
Girls are like, "I love your hair because it's curly." Where like I don't know, curls must just be a thing.
Girls get the girls. That's
It's
what they
literally
say.
true, but like I always see it when I walk into a bar. People, the dudes will go like, "Fucking get a load of this guy's hair," and whenever I walk past the girls, they'll be like, "Oh my god, look at his hair!" Like in a different way. It's so funny.
It's weird. It's weird.
But it's like I
you have
don't
to have the confidence to have the hair like.
Yeah,
that
I just
as
like
well.
fuck. I don't give a shit. I'm like whatever. It's like it's my fucking hair. What do you want me
I
to do
just don't
about
like.
it?
I don't like the hair being on my forehead, and then I have.
Oh really?
I'm like, oh, let's pull it
It
back.
can be hell annoying, but when you can just tie it up.
Yeah. All right, should we wrap that one up there?
Let's call it there. Hey, thanks everybody, dude.
Yeah, cheers
We had
for
a whole
guys.
bunch of people tune in today, so shout outs
Yeah.
to that man. On a whole bunch of
Everyone who
different
joined in,
platforms.
thank you as well.
Which is sick. So hopefully we get some good content out of this. I am posting reels like regularly, but hey, if there's anyone out there that does editing, fuck, maybe we have a job for you because I can't be fucked doing it all the time.
Yeah, especially for those like 5-10 minute length clips.
Oh, man,
Sometimes
it
there's
takes-
some good content there that
there
we would
is.
love to get someone to clip out
It
for us.
takes a long time to do the 50-second clips as well because I have to condense so much down.
paid as well though. We're
Yeah,
not-
we
we're not
would
saying-
pay you
not
obviously,
saying do it for
but
free.
otherwise we're gonna have to go to Fiverr or something like that.
Yeah,
We'll find
yeah,
someone.
easy.
But yeah, thanks everybody.
Alright,
Hey,
see you
take
guys.
care from X, Kick, Twitch, and YouTube. We'll see
Cheers, guys.
you guys around. Peace.